really hard to beat here.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. You know, we spoke about this. We spoke about how E1 at the time, now Raza Company, how their performances on Lair had driven that map in Brazil a little bit because teams had to learn it quickly because otherwise they were losing to them. So I think Liquid are going to come out here. I wouldn't expect them to be slouchers on
Absolutely not. And just again to remind you, if blue team starts on defense, there is currently a little bug in the game visual, of course, where the bans are actually reversed. So what you're seeing here is that G2 have banned away the Monty and the Maverick ban has come out of Liquid instead. Monty ban, not at all surprising. Liquid with Lagonis especially, they absolutely love playing Monty. It's kind of considered his go-to crutch. You'll see him on Blitz a lot as a result of that still being available here. And of course, Blackbeard is still an option available to them. On the other side of things, I think it's more about target bans for Liquid. Fresh himself said that you see sometimes some what you might call funky bands coming out from Team Liquid, Tim, but here with the Maverick and the Tuberal, one that you might look at and think, what's that all about? Again, more aiming in towards G2 here. The Maverick ban for me just screams that we're looking towards the Mask's wall being kept closed on that top floor defense. And Tuberal, Kaid, well, they go together like bread and butter, Tim. You want to make sure they're out there as a pairing. So, looking pretty good. I'm liking how things are setting up here. We'll see what they can bring to their attacking side of this map. It's Liquid starting on the attack, G2 on the defense. Let's get into it, Tim, and see who walks away with the lion's share of these points. I hope we get all three maps, but you never know what you're going to get coming into this. Not forgetting as well, the G2 didn't play yesterday. They had the day off, so had a little bit more time to sit and watch Liquid, and maybe there's a few surprises in wait here for Liquid. The G2 on day one did play against M80, Tim, who I think it's pretty fair to say we're a little bit disappointed.
Yes, I think, you know, it's probably fair to say that.
They have warmed up, bear in mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's fair to say that of NA across the board on day one. But yeah, they came back with vengeance on day two, so that is certainly no slight at the region. They did fantastically well yesterday. And some of my favourite teams so far in the tournament to watch have been coming out of NA. Unwanted particularly, I'll give it out to. They look absolutely fantastic so far. Very, very entertaining to watch. And I think I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, I apologise if I'm wrong, I think it was a tweet from Mint who basically said, like, oh, you know, we're just a bunch of guys who got together because we still enjoy playing together and we still want to do this. And, you know, look how well it's going. It's been fantastic for them.
Certainly no complaints on that side while things are underway. As you'd expect, it's more about the early stage, about getting these drones out. In this case, the Roteros, but also sniffing out exactly what the setup is coming out of the other side. You got Loira on that Bandit. As I mentioned, with the Maverick being taken away, I think you'll see a lot of denial coming in on towards this masked wall, and that is 100% going to be Loira's focus. You have got Alamal sniffing around on these back windows, which is why you're seeing here Lagonis constantly turning around, because if Alamal gets into position, he gets on the window, he can kill everyone on the outside here. But they have gone for both of their hard breaches to make sure this wall gets opened up. At least one part's opened up, Tim. They haven't got the whole thing opened up, so can't use it as an entry point, but there is a little bit of threat here, a little bit of a draft blowing through the site here for G2.
The entry battles, of course, as always, are going to be very important in this one. Who can come away with that early advantage? You're going to be looking towards, obviously we've spoken about those 1,000 kills, going to be looking towards people like Nesk on the side of Team Liquid to be coming in here on the attack and giving the Brazilians a little bit of a platform to work from. Palu as well, of course, you're always going to be looking towards for those big numbers. For the time being, it's the Twitch drone going in, just clearing out that utility. We always see it around the bathroom window, around that side of the map. Try and just create that little bit of a path on in. Nitro, right at Palu's feet. Absolute beauty from his fellow Brazilian. Loira saying, hello, welcome to Lair, and goodbye, all in the same sentence.
Oh, great shot onto Blaz, though. Shows half ahead for what, less than half a second, and Nesk has got his number. We spoke a lot about the numbers that him and Paolo are both racing to potentially throughout this series. Uno down with the shotgun, but this is it. Liquid have pulled the trigger and said it's time to march in towards site, but Uno, who cares about being an IGL team? He's fragging out so far. 2 kills in the round. Nest down to 1 HP to his name, and otherwise it's all up to Lagonis, who, as I mentioned, likes to play on these shields. Here, of course, is to play on the hard breach, has still found Doki, and now things are down to a 2 versus 2. Current IGL and former coming up against Liquid. One on his backside, and Nest has got it all to do against 2. A smoke coming out, and the problem here for Nestim, he gets even a single whiff of that gas, and he's down and out.
You know, if anybody could do it, it is potentially Nest. Manages to find himself another one onto Uno. Leaves us now in a 1v1, but Alamau is there waiting. He knows exactly where he's going to push from. Doesn't take the kill onto Lagonis. More focused on the need to make sure he gets that one onto Nest. Closes it out. That's going to be round 1 going to G2.
They spoke about them being consummate professionals on the desk, and Liquid was straight away would be in there. Mute all. Do not listen to a single word that Alamau is going to throw in all chat. And sure enough, after that first round, there's already a question mark in all chat. What's going on, guys? You lost down a 1v2? What a shame. Anything he can do to try and get a bit of an advantage, you know, Alamau is going to be making best use of. So G2 taking the first round up on the top floor in, I wouldn't say 100% convincing fashion. It was a close round. I think both teams approached it really well. I look back at the game that we cashed from Liquid over the first couple of days, and my big concern was it was a bit too slow and composed for them, and it became very predictable. In their game against Unwanted turtled up, were playing very, very well in the defense, really making sure they had layers that Liquid had to work through, and often saw that clock being starved down towards 0, and it gave them a good few rounds on this very map. So I think here at least Liquid have shown a bit more bite. They were willing to pull the trigger when there was plenty of time left on the clock, and they're not going to find themselves sweating as much as maybe previous. That said, it was top floor. There is not as much to clear. Now that we step down onto this first floor, they've got to work their way in across the top and then worry about site itself. If you ignore this top floor, well, G2 showed Matey what happens if you ignore top floor. Doki with a wonderful shot onto a Maverick through a small sliver that had been opened up in the wall. It showed, hey, you've got to go and clear that top floor if you want to find a way through. And to help with that task, Lagonis, well, he's off thermite duty. Tim is across onto the Blackbeard here. Not the blitz that I thought we might see him stepping onto for now. It's going to be our most recently reworked operator, now with a pretty scary rifle to chuck on top of that shield and do some serious damage.
Straight away getting the external breach open. It's going to immediately apply a little bit of pressure to G2 inside of things here, but lots more work for Liquid to do, of course, before they can start thinking about that site, and that's going to be heading up towards the top floor particularly. We've got 3 G2 players up there for the time being, and we've also got Uno just sort of floating in between. Nade comes down, but it's going to be Alamau taking Maya down with an opener. Blackbeard right up in the face of Uno here. Can he come away with a win?
No.
Honest Palu managed to get a kill apiece, and all of a sudden things swing. It looked good for G2, but Liquid definitely on top of things right now.
Liquid were just so hell-bent on removing Uno off these stairs that they could push down in the fashion that you've seen Lagonis and Nest do, but because it was the Kiva barriers blocking off that longer angle, that was the main reason why there was constant grenades coming on down. But once that's been removed, it's a beautiful bit of team play coming out from Liquid to unsettle G2. They get 2 kills in a flurry, and now they've got, what, 2 players left to deal with the shield. Lagonis looking the wrong way, gets bitten off, and Alamau is in for another 2K in this round, Tim. He's up against his Brazilian brethren, he's given nothing back, but Palu finds one, resets the close, and Liquid take round 2. One apiece.
That's exactly the start that we wanted here, Des. That is exactly the sort of start that we wanted. Both of them coming in, having their moments, getting themselves around a piece and fighting hard here on Lair. I've got a feeling that we've called this already. The analysts have called this one the El Clasico of S-tier Siege. It really is. When these two teams come together, last time we saw it only in Montreal, it went to overtime. There is always fireworks, and I'm hoping that we get plenty more where that came from today.
And I'm sure we will find plenty. As said, a really storied matchup between these two teams, but more than that, just the fact of what it means in this group. Dropping points yesterday is a bit of a stinger, I think, for Liquid, if nothing else. That reminder again, if you finish first in your group, you get that instant bye into the second round of the upper bracket. You get an extra life there. You get to skip out on potentially losing in round 1. You finish in second to third place, well, you start in the first round of the upper bracket. No extra life for you. You finish in 4th, it ain't pretty. You find yourself starting life in the lower bracket. You have no extra lives. If you lose, you are out and your run is done. Will only really come into effect once we hit phase 2 on Sunday. But it's all about farming as many points as you can here in the group stage, and every map contributes towards that. So constantly having close series is certainly not going to do you any favors, and losing, as Liquid experienced, is certainly not going to help either, especially when other teams around them are starting to warm up. I spoke about M18, how they looked better yesterday. That's where I start to get a little bit nervous for them. Into the base we go though, Tim. Let's see how things shape up. You've got Alamau moving away from the smoke and instead now stepping onto the clash. Acknowledging, I think, that if there are shields being played on the other side, Lagonis has dropped away from the thermite, and now that he's playing on the shields, fair time to get some kind of response to that. And I think things like the smoke and the clash are certainly going to help there, as well as the 2 C4s that sit in back pocket. Also worth noting for Liquid yesterday, Tim, we didn't see a lot of shields out of them. It was something we were expected to see, but didn't get too much of. Saying that, Liquid have gone pretty fast here and found themselves at least losing one, but have found two in the process. And they are in, Tim. They are inside 45 seconds. What is this transform Liquid that we've seen compared to yesterday?
Doki's standing up to them well, though. He's managed to get a double. They've still got a shield to deal with. Ludonis on the blitz, just trying to push his way in. But look, G2 have got the vertical. They're watching the doorway. Blast cuts him down, leaving it now all up to Palu. 1 versus 3. He's got a clash in his face. There's surely no way. Blast cuts him down, round over. G2, they stood up really well to that. You've got to feel that they were prepared for that rush coming in.
They certainly looked it. I think when they spoke about the pace yesterday, when we saw them stacking up against Unwanted dealt with these kind of rushes from Liquid really, really well. It's what really impressed me about them. They weren't getting caught off guard by the sudden change from very slow and composed rounds to this much more breakneck speed style from Liquid. And G2 are showing the same. They've dealt with the slower play. They've dealt with the much quicker one as well. And although it's only 2-1, it's definitely a good start for G2. Looking cozy on the defense. And Liquid, they'll be the ones now scratching their heads, thinking about what they can do. And already I'm looking at the operator lineup for round 4. That shield has been dropped away. We've got Maya stepping across onto the Old Faithful. The Deimos being brought along. I'm hoping we see some magic start to fly here for them, because that bottom site is what we've seen victory for teams that were able to crack the first 2. But with G2 winning 2 of the 3, it could turn out to be a pretty ugly half for Liquid if things carry on at the pace they are.
Let's go, guys!
Look at the passion coming out of G2 there. You just know how much it means. Obviously, Six Invitational, it means a lot to every one of these teams. But when you get a matchup like this that keeps happening over and over again, these are the ones that the players dream of. Intercontinental matchups, the ones you don't get to play every day, every stage, the ones that you've got to wait for the biggest tournaments for, and they are delivering a huge matchup right now. G2 going to take us up to the top floor in round 4. 2-1 so far. I think reasonably comfortable defense from G2. They've stood up to a number of different types of attack from Liquid. I like that Liquid are switching things up. They're doing things a little bit differently each time, but G2 certainly seem awake and alert to the danger.
For sure. Let's see how the second quarter goes. To speak about this breakdown of maps into quarters rather than halves. You see those first 3 rounds play out. You normally have a rotation of 3 sites. You don't see that repeated again. It's always a good time for a coach to step in after the first 3 and correct anything that appears to be going wrong. But Hugsword didn't really thought they'd see much going on. And Loira there, I think, probably biting off more than he can more than he could chew. It's between rounds where actually we've seen a bit of the smack talk still coming out from Alamau, whereas Paolo now sees the chance to bite back a little bit. Holding on a little bit too long on the wall is going to pay the price here and fall down. Not the dream start for G2, but for Liquid, it's an entry well earned. That mask wall is now opened up. I spoke about it before being a bit of a point of contention. It has been re-blocked up by Doki on the Azami here as well. If nothing else, sure, they can get up close, they can destroy it, they can shoot it, whatever. It's more the indication that that is the intent coming in from Liquid. If they do hear it broken away, that they know what the step-in's going to be. For Liquid, quite a lot of focus coming in towards Ops at this point. Nesk's found 1, found 2. Blaz and Uno put into an early grave, and now Doki falls challenging onto Ops at the same time. Liquid have just rolled over this round, Tim. It's pretty much guaranteed to be a 2 apiece unless Alamau can bring down Loira and then turn and bring down 4 more all by himself.
Certainly a big ask for Alamau here. He's not even going to find the first. Flawless round for Liquid as Resets manages to get him cut down. And again, it's just back and forward here. Back and forth, neither of them being able to find a real advantage in terms of Lair 2-2. This is honestly edge of the seat already. This is absolutely what I was dreaming of when I woke up this morning that I would get between these two. So we continue on into round 5. G2 have 2 more rounds on the defense. They are going to be looking to get themselves an advantage here. They want to get that 4-2 half. They want to give themselves something before they go on to the attack, because they know that nothing is going to come easily for them.
For neither team, no. And again, we knew it would be a battle. We said it coming in as well. And although we look back at the history, I think you looked into this before, right? The number of times these teams have faced off and who's got the record. I believe 9 times they've played, and it's G2 have only won 3 of those. In recent history, there was the best of 1 that was played back in Montreal. Liquid won on Chalet 8-6. That's where we're going to our next match. It'll be a great rematch to see things shaping up. All of the results from history, the rosters were quite different. Let's not forget, Liquid added in Maya on G2. It's a completely different team to 2 years ago that won SI back in 23. Obviously, they're trying to repeat that success once again. We've seen them throughout the year, constantly qualify through LCQs. That's a fun story for you to think about it. Every tournament this year, both majors and SI, G2 have had to battle in through the LCQs. Their stage play has not been pretty, but they've always found a way to make it to a major. Thing is, it doesn't always then go super well. Back in Manchester, they lost out to FearX, who around the world many consider to be consistently the weakest team at these tournaments. In fact, they're not even here for this one. Yet G2 lost out 2-1 to them. They fell in Phase 2, back in Montreal. Here they are in the Phase 1 start for Six Invitational. How far will they go? If there's a trend going, you'd assume Phase 3, but nothing is guaranteed when it comes to a big international tournament like this. Liquid again now focus on getting these walls up. I mentioned without the Maverick on side, you see a lot of denial in this first half, only for the Bandit, because Kaid is banned away. Liquid so far are showing very little problem, I think, in getting these walls opened up where it's necessary.
Lyra then just having a little lurk around, but it's going to be Blaz doing the damage. Manages to take down Nesk with a Nitro. You always love those utility kills, squeezing every drop that you can out of your operator, and it's a freebie as well. Very rarely are you going to be challenged when you throw in that explosive out. So perfect start for G2 to the round, getting themselves another entry on the board. How about this though? Maya currently on the hunt. He knows that there's one ahead, but he doesn't know exactly where. It's Doki on the vigil with the Bosch G. He's going to have to hit that first shot, and he doesn't see Maya as he comes through the breach, through the rotation, and takes Doki down to level things up 4 versus 4.
Alrighty. Love it when things keep nice and tight between the two. Of course, with the round being off, it's not particularly ideal. I think we've had a bit of a game freeze there, so we'll get a re-host in. Not a bad time to do it. We're sat at 2 apiece, to show that the two teams have been pretty competitive all the way through so far. What I like is how it's felt like a classic heavyweight between both sides, where multiple members are getting involved and punching back at each other time and time again. We've had a bit of smack talk, a little bit of rivalry. Alamau coming up against any Brazilian team, you just know what you're walking into, Tim. But once that's resolved, we'll get back underway with round 5.
It just adds to the tension, doesn't it? It just adds to the tension. Just a little sit down, a little tech pause, a little rest for both of the teams, and it's been such an even affair so far between the two of them that you don't know how this might affect. I think obviously Lagonis there looking like he's just having some sound issues. Headset is off, and they're going to be having a look at that, and we will obviously get everybody back and sorted just as quickly as we can do.
Doesn't take long. Normally it's more about, again, breaking the fourth wall. It's normally about the lobby reconstruction that is the main barrier, I suppose. It's getting players in a certain order, so player cams are all nice and lined up, and it's also lined up with how they sit at their desks. It's an interesting one that I thought about, and it's really not like a big thing, obviously, but with the IGL swapping over on the side of G2, Uno now holds that middle seat, whereas previously it was Alamau. Of course, you can probably gather this one from a little bit of common sense, but if you're the leader of a team, it's always good to be sat in the middle, and the rest of it can be based on several factors. Do players particularly play quite close together? Do you see them playing first and second entry as a pairing? Is there someone droning for someone else? It can really be a mixture of factors to determine how players then order themselves, but it isn't just like they plunk themselves down and go, oh, cool, I like this seat, I'll stay here. There's always a reason why teams order themselves the way that they do on LAN. I can hear a lot of noise on the B stream, by the way. Sounds exciting.
It certainly does. The thing is, when you get towards day 3, you start getting into the games that really feel like, obviously every game matters, but these ones really start feeling like they're getting some teeth to them. You know, we've seen everybody now. We know what everybody's kind of doing, what they're about, so we get a much better chance to build those expectations of how results are maybe going to go. But we're also looking towards those groups as well, and we're looking and thinking, maybe we're getting a better idea about who's going to be sinking towards the bottom, that 5th place that nobody wants, maybe heading home early. And that's where it really starts to build the tension. That's where these group phase games really start to build. Day 3, day 4, you're getting towards those answers. Maybe teams that have lost a couple and you think, no, they've got wins in them, but time starts running out. They come towards the end of the road. They don't have forever to get those wins. And that's what we're sort of coming up against now. And also on the flip side of that, of course, in a game like this one, we're not necessarily talking about who's going to be going, but who's going to be taking those top spots, who's going to be getting the big advantages going into the second phase of the tournament. G2, of course, has only played once, but had one win. Liquid a win and a loss. So, you know, they're fighting for every point they can get now, knowing that they need to keep themselves up towards the top of that table.
You will, of course, get the update from the desk after this game is done, but just to recap on that, like, Liquid sit in second place on 5 points, G2 are in third on 4. But of course, that's like not ignoring that G2 have played only one series so far and Liquid have played 2. In case you're curious, Unwanted currently sit at the top with 2 wins. One that they won 2-0, one they won 2-1. They've got 7 points. And M80, after 2 series, sit on 4 points in 4th place. The blessing for them, I guess, is that Joel, well, currently they are way down and out of it, Tim. They are 0-3, have not won a single map. So by the grace of Joel, M80 may well be the ones making it through in 4th place. Of course, there's still today and tomorrow and the day after to get through in terms of group stages. A lot can change in that time. A single series win for Joel against one of these teams. And M80 are then starting to shake a little bit. It starts to get a bit worrisome for them. We'll see, of course, how things continue to build up on that side. But given M80 have already beaten Joel, it kind of feels like the risk or where the head-to-head between those 2 teams could exist, it's already been eliminated. And I don't mean to be horrible to Joel here, Tim, but you really fancy him going on to beat G2, for example? Probably not with how they've played so far.
You know, we've got to be realistic. I think, you know, again, we're getting towards that point where we've seen teams a few times now. You know, the benefit of the doubt is over. It's not necessarily a huge criticism of Joel. Obviously, you know, their situation being what it is. We know there's been a bit of illness there. They've kind of, you know, they've got Leader and Noodle have come in and they've had to try and build this roster, this team. You know, they've done fantastically well, to be fair, given the circumstances. But yes, you know, coming into that game, if you're G2, you're going to be expecting to pick up the win.
Whew, well, I'm sure it's also in just a moment. Still waiting for our lobby to get built back up. In fact, it just appeared on my left-hand screen, which is always a good sign. So players will be getting back in, and then we can get this game back underway. Tim, this is normally about the time where we go off topic because I'm aware that we can stand here as casters and go round for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes talking about the same points and talking about these teams. How are you enjoying Boston so far?
I'm loving it. It's great. Like I've said, we went out for a little walk last night. Got a little milkshake.
Good shake shack on the go.
It feels like a very chill city. You know, it's kind of, I've been to a lot of cities.
Yeah.
Traffic doesn't feel quite as crazy. It's like,
you know what I think? It almost feels, and it sounds weird to say, a little bit European with some of the architecture.
It's not crazy to say, though. If you think about, you know, a lot of the east coast of the US, obviously there was, you know, a lot of people from Europe sort of heading in this direction. And so, yeah, you do get that kind of European architecture here and stuff. It's obviously one of the older cities in the US as well. So, you know, compared to a lot of maybe the other cities that I've been to around the country, you know, all of which have been fantastic. But Boston's got a real kind of older vibe to it. It's really nice. I like it.
Well, may it continue. I've enjoyed a few days walking around. I did take that real big risk of getting my hair cut in a new city. That always feels like a gamble, because you're used to having like a barber at home that you rely on for these things, and you go abroad, you're like, you want your haircut? And it's a bit of a chance to just kind of Google a place and be like, yeah, I got good reviews, I'll go there. To be fair, the guy did an all right job. I mean, you need a haircut, Tim. I'll take you around to that barber I went to the other day if you want. You just done me or eat.
I think I'll sort my own out.
You reckon?
Yeah.
To be fair, you made me laugh the other day when you were saying, like, you've not clean shaved in age. We're talking about, like, you know, sometimes I'll shave down to nothing, sometimes I have a beard. And I was like, you use the same shaver the whole head over.
I shaved my head. I can't go to clean fish.
Why?
Because it's not a look.
Is it not?
It's not a look.
You got to show me a picture. I need to see it.
No.
Have you ever done like head and like facial hair completely shaved off? No.
I don't. No.
I really want to see it.
I quite enjoy being married. And
You think she'd leave you genuinely?
I'm not sure it'll continue if I did that. I'll be honest. I don't know if she's watching or not, but
you'll get a text.
We'll see if I get
a text saying no, it will not. You keep that small bit of hair that you've still got left on your head, Tim. Well, we are back in the game, which is the good news. Thank you for sticking with us for that little delay. We're back in on round 5. It's 2 apiece. If you are just tuning in, welcome. We've seen both teams really going at it so far, but a little bit of smack talk and all chat, all the kind of drama you want for a game just like this. Liquid have introduced Shields back into their lineup. We saw them really playing without it yesterday against Unwanted on this map, and I thought, are we going to see much more coming? The answer's been a bit mixed. We're still going this on it once or twice. The Blackbeard coming out to play. Otherwise, it's been mainly seeing him on things like the Thermite, but more for this top 4 than anything else, because getting the mask wall open is a bit of a challenge when you haven't got a Maverick. That was one of our operator bans, but where you can't see them at the top of your screen. But we saw the Monty band away, we saw the Maverick band away, and a mix of things. So honestly, Tim, I forget what the Defender bans were at this point. I'll find out in a moment and remind you of that one, but the Maverick going away does mean that you need to make use of both of these hard breaches to get a wall opened up if a bandit is being played. But at least this time around, G2 have dropped away from playing the bandit, meaning this wall should get opened up that little bit easier.
Lagonis straight onto it. We've got the old Thermite one side, Ace on the other, so that it makes it very difficult to be able to do anything about it. There's no tricking going to be there anyway. There's no electricity, but good practice. Let's get that breach completely open. Rotero drone will be locked in. I won't say that it's a waste. It was going to get shot. It's forced the player back up rocket stairs, but it's not taking any utility or anything. It got spotted out before it had the opportunity to do so. And going to have a nice big jump from the Twitch drone of Ness there. I think just relocating himself, looking for something elsewhere. This time the Rotero finds its target, just going to be taking down that barbed wire. So very much in that early phase still from Liquid. First half of the round, clear out as much of that utility as you can. Ness is doing great work there. Takes down an FNAT, takes down a Goo Man. We've got barbed wire out of the way. Liquid are really clearing a path for themselves here.
Little heads up to a bit of a back and forth like discussion about this as well. It's also worth raising as the Des spoke about it. Neska Palu nearing 1,000 kills at SI throughout their careers. That would be one hell of an achievement. Almost a little bit bittersweet in a way, because we've said for years now, Tim, if not now, when do Liquid win a big tournament? And it's still looking for that elusive SI win, despite being arguably two of the best players that the game will ever see. I think they're pretty close at this point. Palu nearing 900, Neski's about 939 coming into the competition. But more on that in a moment after this news break. Here we go in though, but already we've seen Liquid falling down. A 5v4, a 5v3, Loira into a second, getting rid of one of the two players I was just speaking about. And G2 looking pretty in control of this round, and look who's waiting. It's Blaz on the corner, and I'm not sure they have any idea that he's here, Tim.
No, I don't think they do. Lagonis manages to find Loira. This could be make or break for the round. If Liquid are aware of his position and get the kill onto Blaz, then they're going to really create themselves some space to play into. But if they haven't been able to get one of those few remaining drones in and find him, which they didn't, he's going to pay the price. Nest taken down. Blaz gets a kill, 4v2, and surely that breaks the back of the attack. But no, Recess, he's got something to say. Lagonis, he's getting the plan down here. They've found a bit of space, but surely it's over. Lagonis has to go guns up. 3 in the round for Blaz. Well held by G2.
So patient from G2, I think is the key thing I want to remark on there. Normally, well, I say normally. I think back to games that I've seen throughout the tournament so far, and W7M is the one that really jumps to mind back on day one. When they knew any kind of pressure was building up, they would swing. And in fact, it was on this exact map they were doing that. They didn't care, knowing that 2 or 3 players are pushing in towards ops. They would happily swing and take a gunfight. Sometimes it worked out because it kept the other side on their toes. They weren't quite sure when pressure would come or not. It actually worked pretty well for W7M back on day one. But I think what you're seeing here is a lot of patience being shown by G2, which I really, really appreciate. It was only after Blaz had been sat here for, what, 60 seconds as they danced around in this bathroom hallway that he finally made his move, and here you can see him picking up the 2 kills. Just really good patience, really good discipline, not getting too ahead of themselves, and playing the man advantage that they had from early on in that round.
Here we go then. Final defensive round for G2 as they try to get that elusive 4-2 half. They've been having Liquid battle back at them repeatedly so far. They're going to go down to the basement. Now, when it comes to the basement, we've seen this site defensively lost quite a few times so far at SI Des. It's been a tricky one for people to hold on to. We've seen different attacks working. We've seen people taking top and mid floor. We've seen people going laterally. The one that I remember, though, particularly is Liquid against Unwanted. They were 3 versus 2. This was the site that Hot and Cold went on the score pass up to the 2nd floor, came down and just ruined all of Liquid's plans. So they're going to need to make sure that they're paying full attention to the map. That's why I bring that up. Use those drones, use that intel, make sure you know where every single G2 player is. There's no score pass on side this time, they'll be glad to know, but you've still got to be cautious over those flanks. Have we accounted for everything?
Just to come back to that earlier point as well about the 1,000 kills at SI, in case you're really keen on the numbers and want to follow along with us here, coming into this game, Neska, I believe, was on 976 kills. He gets 24 in this series. He's over 1,000 kills, and I believe Tim would be the only player to have achieved that accolade throughout their career. It would be ludicrously impressive. Palu, as you said, isn't far behind. I would back him to get it at this tournament. He needs 103 kills, of which he's already got 40. So there are 2 players to meet it at the same tournament. It just feels a little bit special, given we've seen these guys, like I say, as bread and butter, that pairing that are inseparable.
Yeah, I think needing 20, it's definitely going to happen today for Ness. Needing 24, you know, even if he only gets 2 maps, Well, I say definitely, maybe not, but he's got a few so far, and I think we see 3 maps, and I think we pretty much are going to see that milestone for him, and it'll be a moment to behold, certainly. Like you say, you know, what a contribution, not just to the game, but to Six Invitational as a tournament as well. 1,000 kills across all of those 6 Invitationals is, you know, absolutely phenomenal going. But it's interesting to note, Paolo, of course, is close, but with 1 less SI, he wasn't at SI 2018. Nesk had 73 kills at SI 2018, so, you know, he had a little bit of a head start, and
So the question of who's the GOAT,
nearly caught him up.
Who's the GOAT is still going to go back and forth for a long, long time. The GOAT of Brazil, maybe at least. I think there's plenty of others around the world that will challenge for that accolade. But here we go. Paolo stepping forwards. Oh, still the smoke there, putting him off for a slight second. Otherwise, that probably was a kill coming his way. Blaz, a little bit of a panic attack on his screen, but finds Maya off the back of it. Lagona's getting out Uno's while these verticals are in G2's favour. Tim, we've spoke about these so many times, but Nesk has got in the right spot to go for a plant. Problem is there are G2 players on either side of him here, and it's not looking pretty when one of them is a clash. There's one left standing, and Doki collects both. G2 with a really solid first half here on Lair.
Yeah, that was really nice from G2. Like I said, we've seen them struggle we've seen everybody sort of struggle a little bit to defend that basement at times, but G2 locked it down, and it was recognising the importance of that vertical play. As I said, coming in, Liquid needed to make sure that they were fully in control of the map and fully understanding exactly where everybody G2 was and where they were playing and what their intention was. Blaz has slipped through the net there, and he's done them some real damage. He's got up above. That's the important kill. When he gets the kill onto Maya, and the reason that I sort of say that he slipped through the net is because Maya just ran headlong into him. Liquid weren't fully aware of his position, so Blaz gets the kill, completely secures that mid-floor, and can then just rain fire down upon Liquid from above. And you can see, I think, the frustration on Lagonis' face there. They know that they've kind of let that one get away from them a bit.
Just feel it. And looking at Lair as a map, I mean, I said it earlier on for G2, if you look at any team that's played this map more than once, so Dark Zero, for example, have played it once, won it once. They haven't yet lost on this map since it came into the map pool, or really came out overall, to be fair. It's quite a new map that we've got overall. G2 have played it 5 times, won it 4 of those. They have got the best win rate on this map of any team around the world that has played it more than once, excluding some of our more minor regions. Look across the major regions where you tend to see a high level of competition. G2 are currently, I'd say undisputedly, the best team on this map, bar none. One thing that really did impress me, and I think it was Leo who asked me for this stat at the previous event, was Death's trade. How often are G2 trading back Deaths when one of their teammates die? How often is someone there to respond? I think they're like the 2nd best team over the last 6 months at this on Lair. 21% of their deaths that they lose are then traded back the other way. The only team, interesting, that is better is Oxygen. Now, that surprised me a little bit to see that stat line, but of course there's a reason why you should keep a very close eye on them throughout this competition as well. We saw the use of the fuse like this yesterday, actually one of the games that we saw, and what I love about this, they're being baited out a little bit, Tim, by the fact that there are Stelmas on the wall. However, that fuse charge really could have done some damage to Reset if he wasn't careful. He does manage to keep one side of the wall closed, but that fuse does scare him away. And that now means G2 have got a point of ingress into this site.
I was absolutely terrified for Resets for a second there. I thought, so in putting that battery down, I thought, you're going to bite the dust here when those pucks start coming through, but he did manage to get away with it. How about that for a challenge? Nesk aggressive onto the door, but Alamai prepped and ready. Manages to cut him down. Entry goes in the direction of G2. They've got control of Ops. This is good. They can start applying that pressure from multiple sides now. That's something that we've seen important on this top side of Lair, is getting a couple of angles of aggression going on. Try to push in one dimension, it can be a tough one.
All right, well, yet again, G2 have walked away with the entry is the key one. And not forgetting, Tim, of course, we've had that side swap now. We get to see what they can do on the attack. That's going down, all the rechargeables gone. Legion still on side with his still ticking on through, so it's not the end of the world, but still a key bit of utility to have taken away from the team. Setting themselves set up more than anything else. A few players scattered around Ops here and droning in towards Mask. Uno actually is outside the breach with the diffuser in hand, which again just screams that this is going to be their point of execution. It's about the backstab you've now got to watch out for, but Uno is dead. Like I said to him, he had the diffuser. Without that, they're in trouble. G2 have pushed in. It's gone all wrong. Reset has broke the back of this team, and it doesn't matter about the backstab from Blaz. That's also been handled. G2 have crumbled when they looked about set to pull this off. Alamau with 2 more left to find, but surely, Tim, Lagonis and Paolo don't give him this one.
You'd really have to think that they can lock it down, but this is winnable for Alamau. He brings it back to a 1v1. He's against Lagonis, who's super low health. There's G2 might just rescue this from the jaws of defeat. I'm not sure Alamau knows exactly where he is, but he's just hedging his bets here. He heard a bit of movement. He knows he's going to come one side or the other. The question is, who sees who first? 15 seconds. Alamau needs to find him. Lagonis just needs to survive. He's trying to avoid this gunfight. He's running away, and he catches him. Alamau goes in without being guns up, and Lagonis takes advantage, wins the fight. Liquid clinging on. I think Resets would have had every right to be frustrated if that round wasn't won. He had a huge play in the middle of it, stepping out, getting the kill onto it. It was a risk. Looking out of the breach is always a risk. Takes Uno down, flips 180 and hits Doki coming in through Ops Corridor as well. Brilliant stuff from Resets.
I've been heaping quite a lot of praise. In fact, we both have over the last few days. We've heaped a lot of praise onto Resets.
I think I don't think he's underrated, but he's kind of overlooked sometimes because you've got Palu Meyer. It's
underappreciated is the word.
It's so easy to overlook, but he does such important work.
A big part for Resets, I think, is he came in at the same time when Ash joined, if you remember, like way back when for Liquid, it feels like at this point. And it wasn't quite the same Liquid. It's always a problem when you change players on a big organisation. You know, Liquid being one of them, G2 a great example as well. There's always doubt. There's a lot of judgment on players. I look back at Uno as a wonderful example. Like, there was a lot of kind of pressure put onto him, a lot of criticism levied his way. We're seeing the same thing now about Blaz and, to a degree, Loira. I think Loira has definitely stepped up and rose to the occasion and above the criticism that's came his way. But Resets, I think so far this competition, for me, I mentioned it on Twitter earlier, but I was looking at our top 20 players. Resets is in that top 20, and for me, even without looking at numbers, you know, I've included a couple of players that weren't on that list. I said Resets for me is just impressing every time I watch him play. And yes, of course, we're talking about him off the back of a really nice play. There's rounds where he'll do nothing, of course, 100%. But in that moment, he has basically won it for his team because he found out those three players that were trying to work on the west side. He's got rid of the diffuser. He's got rid of Doki on the entry. Beautiful stuff.
The other thing it's showing us there, Des, whilst we've got a little bit of downtime, you know, we can break that down a little bit further. The other thing that it's showing us is this position. We're seeing it now. This is the double from Resets. He gets Uno, he gets Doki. It's the position, though, if you look at it. It's showing how critical that position is proving to be for that top floor defense. That is not the only time that we have seen attackers completely foiled by somebody in that position at this Six Invitational. Remember Hot and Cold on the Clash? Just absolutely dominated that position, would not be moved, and they just couldn't get in against him. And it was, again, Liquid that had that same problem. You know, they've used it then, they've reversed it, and they've said, you know, we can recognize the importance of that position in and around desk, playing in and around masks, and just making it so difficult for the attackers to move. And Resets has done a brilliant job there to win the round for them.
Alrighty, well, back into the game again in just a moment. Again, aware that these rehosts, these technical pauses can be a bit of a nuisance, but we are halfway there. G2 all back in lobby, just waiting on Liquid. What you got planned while you're out? In fact, we've already booked to go and watch a game, haven't we, this weekend?
A little sports game.
Yeah, a little sports game.
We do like to catch a sports game whilst we're
very
lucky
America.
and we get to visit all these different places and, you know, wonderful places around the world, and Boston is certainly right up there at the top, along with some of the other great places that we've seen. But yes, we do quite often take the opportunity to go and see.
Oh, we went to an NBA game in Atlanta. And I was like, wow, I love American sports. It's great because it's like just. The game
something all the time.
The game stops and there is an assault on the senses. So for me, who's so easily distracted and gets bored, I was like, this is incredible. And then we went to Montreal, watched Canadians play there, and I was like, oh, wow, this is even better than NBA. I'm sorry if you're a real diehard NBA fan, by the way.
We had some lifetime luck at the hockey game.
There's a story we can tell here when we get back into games. So we just got tickets on a whim. We were trying to find like tickets as a group of 3.
Well, we did think we'd be able to make it, but the games finished early.
They did, yeah. And we just thought, you know, we'll try and get tickets, me, Tim, and Ian. And we were trying to find tickets as a block of 3, and we couldn't really find any. So at one point, I was like, you know what? You boys go without me. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But we were like, no.
And we were like, no. We will have worse seats. We all go together in worse seats, or we don't go at all.
Absolutely. And so we bought.
So we thought that they were worse.
Yeah, we thought they'd be really crap tickets, to be honest. Like up in the rafters somewhere. I thought, whatever, we'll enjoy it. It'll be a good night out with the boys. It'll be fine. And we get there, and there's these 2 massive queues coming out the building, and we're just like, oh, which queue's ours? Then we'll be here forever. Oh. Asked someone at the front of the gate, and they were like, oh, you got to go down the side, down the stairs. There's a door on the right. And I thought, oh, no, it'd be even worse down there. Like, low down's never a good thing, it feels like. And we go through this airport scanner into a door that has, like, is it like Lodge written on the side? And I was like, what does that even mean? Airport scanners.
At this point, we're kind of like, No.
This ain't right. This ain't right. This ain't right. We go through the airport scanners, we get our ticket scanned, and I thought it'll go ready because we're in the wrong place. It feels a bit too upmarket for us. But it goes through, we get in the elevator, and there's an attendant in there like, oh, sir, what floor? I was like, we've been told to go to 5. They're like, yes, sir. They announce when you get to the floor, we walk out, and we're surrounded by, like, executive boxes, and we were like, boys, I'm pretty sure we should not be here.
We've paid, like, a very normal price for these tickets as well. This is not like, you know, we haven't dropped a ton of cash on this.
It was mad.
Like, this is a very
And then we get directed round to our box, sit down in these 4 seats just for us, and like shared with like 12 other people. Big comfy seats. You get someone serving you drinks, and we were just like,
it was like we won the lottery. It was amazing. It was amazing.
I don't think we'll get away with that this weekend.
We will never have luck like that again, Des. We will never have luck like that again.
Pretty magic.
But
pretty magic.
You know what goes around comes around. You know, that was the reward for saying we all go or we don't go.
That's
that
very
was
true,
the reward.
Stick together, die together. That was the way to go. Onwards in March then. So in case you are rejoining us once again, hello. G2 did win their first attacking round. Liquid are the ones trying to bounce their way back in. That'll be the important thing to look out for here. So Liquid won the previous round, G2 were 4-2 off the back of the first half, sorry. So Liquid won their first defensive round. Did come down to a 1 versus 1 between Alamau and, forget who it was, Tim, who was it? Lagonis, who was running away. Clock, I think,
Lagonis played it
Alamau
beautifully.
He did, he played it incredibly well. Bit of a bait going on there. Now here we're going to see the same thing again. Where's that fuse charge? Reset, you best get running, my friends. Doesn't find himself taken out by it. However, the wall should get opened up here. A C4 is ready. And at least he gets rid of these 2 Stelmas, so the wall isn't fully opened up. Not bad from resets.
The C4 toss wasn't really the best. It's not cleared off the Stelmas. It doesn't go through the breach. So it clears, you know, half clears one of the Stelmas. They've still got a workable breach going through. Resets, it was a good effort, but it's always difficult, really. You know, if you're going to have fuse charges, you're going to have EMPs, you're going to have everything coming into you as a bandit, it's going to be very, very difficult to really do much on that breach. But if nothing else, it's certainly given G2 something to think about at the beginning of the round, but they're going to be pretty happy with the outcome. And a minute in, they can now start thinking about getting into the map.
What are they cooking here, Tim? So I'm not going to say it's like a full set piece, but there's some consideration here, I think. More trying to wait for the information to gather up, but the way they're lined up, they're charging in this door, and Palu is going to get run over by a steam train. That steam train is called Alamau, and Nesk is the first go. They need to make this happen. In they come, but he's gone the wrong way! Hasn't been droned out, was holding in the perfect spot to not get seen from the door to his right, but at least the trade is secured. Problem now, Tim, is they've lost the shield. Doki securing Maya as he tries to take his fallen teammate's place, and now it's looking good for G2, a 4 versus 2.
G2 are playing together really well. They're quite often influencing the, you know, in the deaths of their teammates. They're there ready to have their say, to get that refrag, to, you know, just pick it up and not lose that numbers advantage. So really good. Again, Blaz is having a good game today. He's right on top of things, and he's certainly kept G2 in the driving seat for this round. 4 versus 2 then as the fuse charges. If you're going to bring them to clear off the bandit, you might as well rain some from above as well. He's going to start softening up sight. There's 2 things that the fuse is looking to do, and you might, I don't know, maybe new to the game, you might be surprised to hear that getting kills is not one of them. The 2 things fuse is looking to do is to move players around, force them out of position into the lines of fire of your teammates, hopefully, and to clear utility. Those are the 2 big functions of the fuse.
We've seen it used really creatively on some maps for soft destruction as well. It can be really impressive for that. However, Diffuser is now going down, and Liquid, I think, are a little bit forced away by those charges. But let's, you know, just step inside, try and get this plant down, and it has been achieved. 4v2 in a post plant for Liquid, outside of something magic out of resets or Lagonis. This one's cooked.
Yeah, perfect example of what I was saying about the fuse there. The last couple of kills come in, Uno and Moira close it out. But a perfect example for you to take away at home if you're, you know, thinking of implementing a little bit of fuse play. What they've done there is use those charges to create the space, clear the utility, force the players out, and then bang, straight away, Uno's going in and getting that diffuser down. No surprises to see that tack timeout called by Team Liquid here. Hugzord needed to have something to say.
I was going to say now is the time to call in this tack timeout, because you're down at 5-3. You leave it another round, you lose that one, you're at 6-3. You've got 3 rounds to win back. I don't think a coach can help you win 3 rounds when you've been getting rolled the way you have so far. So it's the right time to step in. For Liquid, that was a difficult round, I think, because even though they got that early kill onto Alamau once he burst in, they're losing players early in these rounds in little silly ways that they really shouldn't be, or just getting caught off guard by G2. And yes, G2 is their map pick. Yes, they've got intel on how Liquid have played this map. Yes, they're the most successful team on this map around the world. There's a lot stacked up against you here, but I think even Hugzord is saying, we're losing members in silly ways here. It needs to stop.
Yeah, exactly that. They need to, I think, you know, the key difference over the last couple of rounds that I've noticed, like I say, is G2 are working together. They're getting those trades. They're, you know, making sure that they at least keep the man count level where it feels like Liquid are being picked off as individuals a little bit more. You know, quite often G2 will get the kill and then they'll cement the advantage by not losing somebody on the back of it. So I think if Liquid can maybe play a little bit closer together, you know, more in positions to be able to impact. Like there, Paolo's completely on his own there. So once he dies, there's nobody in a position to be able to do anything about that. And maybe that's something that Liquid can look towards, especially on the defense. They're the ones that are choosing their locations here. Maya, again, dies. Is there any trade? No. Lagonis, there's nothing to come back from it. So I think, you know, play a little bit closer together, just a little bit more in touch, and make sure that you've kind of got each other's backs a little bit.
I think it's just a really good set-piece play from G2.
It was very good, don't get me wrong, it was very good from G2.
They identified what they wanted to achieve as well, and Doki being where he was, like perfect spot one to get the first kill, which I don't think they anticipated finding, to be fair. They didn't realise there was a player still tucked in the wall, which is why you saw Alamau just get gunned down as soon as he tried to step forwards. I'm already looking at this round, Tim, and I'm seeing two shields and just thinking, oh my god, what are the boys cooking now? You've got the Oster on side, you've got that Blitz here once again, the ramp for the vertical, and Doki to make sure there's no funny business coming out of Liquid playing on that Nomad. On the other side, it's a pretty dug-in comp. It's got two of those architect operators in the castle and the mirror to transform how the site is played a little bit. So it's very much unstoppable force, immovable object for me with the way this is going to get set up. Who breaks who first?
Just as a little update for you on the 1,000 SI kills as well. Nesk is currently, I know we've had a couple of rehosts, so we've lost some of the stats on the screen for you there, but we'll keep you updated. Nesk is currently on 6 kills, which leaves him on 982 total. He needs another 18. Dez is unhappy. We've lost Palu. We've lost the smoke.
This is what we were saying a second ago. You've seen it happen so often across these rounds where there's no trade and the player's just going down early. I don't know if it's trying to catch G2 off guard with this, but is a smoke really the one to be losing there? Like, you want a Goyo really in that spot. Maybe a Castle would be better. Heck, even the mirror to some level. Like, I think you really want this smoke for the late round, especially on this site as well, when there's so many little tucked away plant spots where a C4 or smokes can really help you. I'd rather have 3 smokes than 1 C4. It's just frustrating because Liquid are constantly now playing in a 5 versus 4.
I'm not sure if G2 are aware of Nesk's position upstairs. You can see his silhouette off in the distance there as the castle. And there's Lyra up above at the minute, and there's also Blaz is looking in that direction now, so I think they might be... They're not perfectly aware, but they do know somebody's up there with them. You can see from the way they're moving. This is going to be really important. If they don't find Nesk and he manages to get onto the flank and hit him for a couple of kills, it's a big mistake from G2. That's the information that they needed. Barely any damage really done to Doki. He's fine, and it tells them where Nesk is, so now they're going to be laser focused on dealing with that. G2 have kind of got away with one a little bit there.
We're quite blessed that we can see this, but I'm watching Alamar on the top left corner of the screen off to my left because he's the one with the shield. When he starts moving like he's doing now, the play begins. Yes, he's caught out, but the mirror window is gone. And Loira has traded him. I said G2, one of the best teams in the world for trading teammate deaths, and they're showing it again here. Blaz in for another, and yet again, G2 are in a 4 versus 2. They are in full control of their tip, and there is nothing that Liquid can do to stop them.
Yeah, they're absolutely steamrolling the Brazilians at the minute. Nesk manages to find one onto Loira, but at this point you just feel that they're likely to be impactless kills. 1v4 becomes 1v3. Can he get it down to 1v2? He knows exactly where they are coming from. He's pinched, the diffuser goes down. He's now not only fighting G2, he's fighting the clock as well, coming around the corner. Surely there's one more, but no. Blaz, he seems unstoppable today. He just dips, he ducks, he dodges, he dives into that last encounter and cuts down Nesk to take the round and put G2 onto map point.
I think that's Blaz up to 11 kills across the map as well.
Really
11 and 4. And, you know, I'll touch on this as well. It's worth addressing the bull head on. Like, again, Blaz is the player that I think a few people have been leveraging a bit of criticism against and saying, oh, he's not quite the guy these guys need. Where I feel bad for him is in certain rounds, I've seen him be the guy that's left in the bad position for his team, and it's like, he can't do much in that position. But even with that, whenever I've spoken to anyone on G2, they've been like, no, Blaz is the guy. Like, trust me, he is the guy. And with the way that he's been performing throughout this tournament, today, most definitely, certainly can't complain. In fact, it'll be 12 and 4 at this point. If I got it wrong, he got 4 kills in that round, not just 3.
You can see, again, it was another round of great examples of, you know, what I keep highlighting, and I will continue to highlight it because it is a defining factor at the minute. It's really important that Liquid are just not having impacts on each other's deaths. The trades are not coming through, and it's allowing G2 repeatedly to get these 4v2, 4v1 situations where they have strong man advantage. By contrast, every time somebody dies on G2, bang, there's a trade there, and there's somebody in a position. They are working together fantastically well. We'll see whether Liquid can get themselves any more defenses locked down here on Leia, or whether it will be all she wrote, as G2 just needs one more round here to take the first map and give themselves the advantage in this best of 3.
We'll see. So far, though, it's looking good. That second map will be the real teller for me, as that reminder they played this back at the last major. That 8-6 scoreline to Liquid will probably hang in G2's heads a little bit. And they'll be wanting to work a bit of magic here to turn that one around. But I think momentum off the back of this will be the key one. They don't look like they've really slowed down the result of having a day off yesterday, Tim. They look fresh. They look really, really good. And Liquid have got a lot to fight back here if they want a way back into this game.
Interestingly, just looking at the entry stats as well, through the first half, it was dead level, 3-3. Whereas when G2 have got on the attack, we've seen them sort of take it up a notch. They've gone up a gear here. And with that, they are getting more of the entries. That's something Liquid need to address. Resets has done that again from that position. Almost got that opening kill. As it is, Uno is going to survive, but the breach isn't open, the mirror window's down, and that is going to make it very tricky potentially to go into that position and get that wall open. It may be that we have to look at G2 now and say, how well can you adapt here? Are you going to completely, commit to getting this wall open and keep banging your head against it? Or are you going to say, we need to go for plan B? As it is, they're going to use the Hibana instead to make it difficult for Resets to play around that corner. So again, good from G2. They've adapted from the original plan. The Thermite's not working. We've got the backup of the Hibana. And the important point, and the reason I mentioned that, is that Loira was in the right place. Again, working well, supporting his other hard breach. I'm there if it goes wrong. I've got you covered. And G2 don't waste much time. Great stuff.
You could probably mistake this for the official G2 broadcast. I know we've been glazing them a lot, but you can't ignore how well they've been playing so far. And Liquid haven't given too much to kind of go off of yet. I hope it does start to change as the series wears on. We want to see all 3 maps between these 2 titans of Rainbow Six Siege. Still yet to find a way through to keep G2 at bay. Doki's just holding down left mouse button, but Lagonis stepped out, getting the old 1-2 strafe and brought him down. Uno, though, onto Resets, who you were praising a second ago, Tim. It's looking rough.
That's really important as well, because Resets is the one playing that position that I spoke about on desk. That's now going to give G2 an opportunity to get into the side, and we can see Uno doing a bit of work. Blaz manages to get one as well. It's Lagonis just trying to hold things down from underneath with a Nitro potentially. Nesk, he's upstairs on site, but they are separated. They can't really help each other too much. As soon as G2 recognise that, they can just push them in numbers.
There's one for himself, and then clear him out, then suddenly things start to look better. In fact, they've regrouped here. He's no longer alone, and Nesk, he can't find Blaz, who steps in, gets himself a 2 in the round. Lagonis one back, Tim. We've been here before. Round in the corner's not enough time. Lagonis holds on.
How many times is Lagonis going to save
Stop
them?
the music! Stop the music! There you go, carry on. Production a bit too excited there, I think.
I think we all are. This is great. How many times is Lagonis going to save them in those situations? 1v1 against Alamau, wins it out. 1v2 there, gets his kill, recognises. The thing is, don't underestimate what Lagonis has done there. He's got into a high-pressure situation. He was low health himself. He manages to get the opening kill to bring it back to 1v1. But it would be so easy, Des, so easy to get sucked into that second fight, to just keep going. But he doesn't. He has the mindset there to think, to recognise this clock is low. There are seconds remaining. I just need to hit the deck here. I just need to keep myself alive. Here it is. He not only gets flashed, he finds his first kill, recognises that there's 3 seconds left to go. I'm just going to hit the deck and I'm going to spray to the only point that they can come around that corner. Brilliant stuff from Lagonis.
Couple of rounds now where he's kept his team in it. The 1v1 against Alamau, and now Uno has fallen short too. And even with that, Tim, still got 2 rounds they need to fight back. I don't think you can rely on Lagonis to do it a 3rd time.
It's difficult. It's not really a criticism of G2 here, and I kind of said it at the time. The point was, if they recognised, and there's a lot going on at that point. It's not a point in the round where you're going to get on drones and things like that. G2, if they just recognised that Lagonis was downstairs and Nesk was on his side, on his own, they could have gone straight in there, 3v1, and maybe got that control. Lost one of them, maybe. Lagonis has to fight his way back in. But Liquid, they did really well to recognise that danger and get Lagonis back to site as quickly as possible.
The Old Faithful in the fuse alongside the hard breach to get these walls guaranteed opened up. Of course, you wouldn't come in and banning away a Maverick, for example. In fact, it wasn't G2 that banned the Maverick, it was Liquid that banned it away. But G2 came prepared, maybe expecting something like this to come out on Lair. And have found a very good answer. I think both teams dealing with these, electrified walls quite effectively, I'd wager. Ness didn't even bother to try and trick that one out, knowing exactly what would happen. I think Resets has given him a few heads up, Tim, on what to expect when trying to actively trick a wall against G2. So this time round, just not even bothering. So 60 seconds in, that top floor, you see quite a lot of pressure coming on through. Alamau is in and brought down the clutch master on the Liquid side.
And as I've said previously, I don't want to keep banging the same drum, but there is no trade there. There is no real response. Alamau takes a little bit of damage in the fight, but the entry is cemented. He's got the kill. Lagonis is gone. Resets low health. Nest taken down. This is not looking good for Liquid. It is looking a lot like the beginning of the end of Lair.
It is. Resets. A slither of HP to his name. Myron Palu maybe sat here with full HP bars, but G2 has still got a full roster. And that's the problem. They start to wade on forward. Now they've got this top floor, let's not forget as well. Uno, of course, is the one who's on plant responsibilities, but they've got all the time in the world to play with, Tim. A solid 70 seconds here. And if he wanted to, he could make use of this gadget. Don't think he will, given he's now playing laterally and looking for the plant. Hard-breach gadget coming out to get this wall opened up. Alamau, I imagine, trying to find some more chaos that he can cause. The last smoke from Palu being burnt here as well. There's not really much more denial except for a C4 available to them. The end is on its way, Tim.
So G2 have pinched site here. They're on both sides of it. They're just basically forgetting about top floor. G2 are completely going for site. Liquid are completely trying to hold on from above. Palu manages to take down Uno. Liquid at this point have really got to hope they've got all the angles they need, because having to relocate, having to open up a new vertical might just take them too long. As it stands, G2 are heading upstairs. Blaz, he's on the sky bridge and potentially looking to go and challenge these two up above. They know that they might have to. They're working from underneath at the same time. They don't want to start putting the diffuser down just yet.
Alamau's in. You've recovered the diffuser and has rotated away. But no, it's the caught by another angle. No, not again. 2 kills coming out for Liquid. And how many times have teams got to experience death from above to know that you've got to deal with these verticals? Plan is going down. Laura, the one holding it down, could be seen from above. Will they see him? Yes, they can. And Palu gets the down. Liquid Real are raining on this death from above, and G2 do not do anything about it. They've left the door open. Liquid are back in, 1 round away from overtime.
G2, I've got to ask some questions there. I've got to ask some questions.
Oh dear.
You had numbers. You had a numbers advantage, and you just sent 1 upstairs. You've just seen why it was critical that you got those kills on the top floor. At least 1, if not both. You probably should have just won the round on kills there. Nothing wrong with trying to put the diffuser down, but I honestly think they needed to commit more numbers to the top floor. Sending Blaz up on his own into a 1v2 was always potentially going to be a problem, and especially against Maya and Palu. They just had a great command of that top floor. Palu, he's been playing smoke for most of the game. He's going to have the shotgun in hand. He's going to be able to open up new holes if he needs to. So for me, there was nowhere safe inside of that site whilst those 2 were up above, and G2 had the numbers to deal with it, and I think they should have just committed. It's easy in hindsight, of course, but I think you commit to that top floor, you send at least 2, if not 3 up there, leave the diffuser down with 1 person near site, ready to go in and plant, but get 3 of you up top and take those fights.
Whew. They've got to be so careful here, because it feels like this one really could run away from G2. And a reminder, when you're getting towards overtime, you get to pick what side you started on. I haven't double-checked where G2 opted to start, I would expect, on defense. So we've seen a little bit more comfort coming through for both teams so far. G2 having a 4-2 half, and Liquid about to secure the same, unless G2 can really put out something special. Speaking of special, Tim, you've got that Oster on side again. We didn't really see it used to great effect earlier, but I'm more looking towards Blaz on the line as well as Doki on the Deimos. That's a lot of ability to hunt down any players that are in hard-to-break positions, and they could punish any roamers or anyone left a bit too far away from the rest of the team. Look at this, though, Doki. He's in, Tim. He's completely slipped the net.
Classic Dorkies, he just wanders on inside, but Palu is ready and waiting. It was a big risk. It was a roll of the dice from G2, and the trade isn't there because of the position that it was in. Something that G2 have done so well. They've actually played outside of this that time by going into site, by taking themselves out of that comfort zone of having the opportunity to trade. Lawyer manages to find Palu or Blaz onto Nest. Somehow G2 have got themselves back into this, but Lagonis again there, that stalwart for his team, just finding answers, keeping them in it. Blaz, he keeps on fighting for G2, takes down Maya, 3v2 Des.
There's still half a round to play. There's another Dokkaebi call available here for Lawyer, but there's one left standing. It's resets, and guess what, Tim? He's the only one getting called on this team right now. He is done for, and G2, they almost let Liquid back in, but just when needed, they close it out 7-5.
It was a close finish, like you say. G2 definitely left the door open a little bit there for Liquid to have the opportunity to keep themselves fighting, but they managed to knuckle down in that last round, round 12, get it done, 7-5, a close game so far, and I don't see that changing through the rest of this. What a matchup we are witnessing.
See a bit of bounce back from Liquid, which I'm excited to see. I thought after that first half it could just roll to be a comfortable G2 win, but there is still fight in Liquid. We'll see just how much on Chalet. Back with you in just a few minutes.
G2 takes the first map in this big matchup, what is going to determine the top spot in the group for now, and they seemed in control for the majority of the rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they were genuinely excellent on their defense out now. You know, their teamwork, their team play togetherness, maybe not in this individual clip, I'll be honest, but across the whole defensive half, I thought their teamwork was excellent, and it's really crazy to say that about G2 because I think, you know, we're building this storyline about Alamel previous IGLing, Uno now IGLing, and a common characteristic of G2's play whilst Alamel was IGLing was chaos, was absolute 1 versus 1s, reliant on gunfights, inconsistencies. And with this Uno-led G2, we're now seeing a G2 that's really good at team play, that has a baseline level of consistency, and that absolutely control rounds, and it's kind of a weird feeling. They then got onto the attack. They did troll a couple. This round in particular that you see in here, this was a 5 versus 3 where they took a couple of wrong decisions, lost it right on the hooter there, but they got the job done 7-5. And I think in this format, in this group, that is the most important thing because maps matter so much.
Yeah, it's going to be every single point that really matters for these teams, especially in regards to the top position in the group. The bye in the upper bracket is what we're fighting for here, what these teams want to do. And we're looking at the map summary. Something we mentioned at the beginning of this series is that both Nesk and Palu are so close to breaching 1,000 kills at SI.
Yep.
Do we have an update on how close Nesk is? Because he was running ahead.
We do. So Nesk is a little bit in front of Palu, so we're just going to focus on Nesk because he could breach 1,000 kills in this best of 3. He had 976 before we'd played around. You can see on the scoreboard there, he's got 8. That puts him at 984, so he needs 16 more to get 1,000 kills across every Six Invitational. That could well happen in the next map or the next 2 maps, especially if you're a Liquid fan. You're hoping it will be 2 maps. Then just focusing on the left-hand side there, Blaz, 16-5. I think he's really starting to find his place inside of this G2 roster. And I think what's impressive for Blaz there actually isn't just the KD, it's the cost percentage. Because Blaz's cost has been a little bit low. He's been a little bit inconsistent whether he's impactful in a round or not. And he's bringing that up this tournament. He's really finding his place and settling into this G2 roster.
The LMAO cost as well, over 90%, absolutely huge for him. Something we'll be keeping our eyes on for sure, but that's something that we have talked about when it comes to this IGLing change, and something that G2 has been showing us very well so far in this map is great teamwork, and we have Leo over at the Telestrator to give us a great example of that.
Yeah, I actually think round 6 is a perfect example. Just like you said, Anne, we're taking a look at the basement defense on layer right now, and I want you to pay attention to what Maya is doing. Maya is hiding over there in that corner, and it's Ram. He's done a lot of work actually. He's opened up all the vertical play to open up the site for his teammates. One thing that is the key win condition for these guys, Blaz. Blaz is roaming upstairs and he's ready to retake that vertical play onto Maya, and this will be important later. When we move to downstairs, we're gonna see here what's the setup for G2. As you can see, Doki here is preventing the backstab, and at the same time, you check the rest of the lineup. Uno is there with smoke, burning time onto lab, and Alemao with the Goyo as well coming off is burning more time towards Missile. So they've got this really big wall with lots of utility to burn time. And it's exactly what the guys are doing. They're buying time for Blaz to go and retake upstairs. As Blaz goes and retake upstairs, he's gonna kill Maya, and now with the vertical pressure, it turns on his advantage to get a second pick. So we went from a 4v5, and now Alemao here can go and play aggressive, so effectively that 4v5 goes into a 3v2. At this point, I want you to pay attention to Alemao's decision making. He's alone versus 2 players, and the clash is not extended. He has his gun up right now. So right now, as you can see, he's almost gonna go and pick these guys. What he needs to do is play passive. Play passive to play with his teammates. And that's exactly what he will do. He does not take the engagement, brings back his shield. To what? To burn more time for his teammates. And as you can see here, we're noticing a beautiful 3-way pinch on everyone as Blaz backstabs here towards Lab. The 2 others are taking onto Nesk, and as you will see, Doki gets 2 free pick of that, supported by Clash. This is the new G2 for you, playing together in every single scenario. Now stick with us. Team Liquid's map pick is coming after a short break.
Back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back to the back to the back to the back to the back. Take it back, take it back. back it up, 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 back it up. Take it back, take it back. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back to the back to the back to the back to the back.
Chalet is the map that is coming up next to us. We're looking at G2 have a bit of a talk after this first map. I mean, we mentioned how they were very much in control, trolled a few of their rounds near the end, but they still managed to get it over the line. Now, speaking of the map that is coming up, Chalet, what are our expectations going to be for this map? What do we need to see from Liquid to make sure they bring it back in a 1-1?
I've been a little bit blindsided here, and I'll be honest. We can go into the map, and I'm sure Leo will do that. Do you not think G2 look like a cricket team? They've got like the cream overalls on, and it's the trousers as well. They look very much like a cricket team. I do dig the vibe, though.
I'll be honest, I will share one anecdote. One time we were flying with United to Las Vegas, and a hostess came to us asking us, we were wearing the United gear, and she's asking us what professional, sports are we doing? And I said cricket. I had no idea. And then she praised us in front of everyone saying, oh, we have professional cricket players over there in the plane. And we stayed like stars. I had no idea what cricket is. I've never watched a single match of it.
And then have to go and defend yourself. I appreciate, by the way, that I asked you a question and neither of you answered the question. What's going to need to happen on Chalet for Liquid to bring this back, please?
Let's be real. It's their comfort map, highest preference, 5-win streak. If there's one map where they can strike back, it's there. What I like to see about G2 here is that G2 has looked better and better. This is, for me, the real first test for G2. They're facing a great team on their best map. How much have they improved on that map is what I'm looking for right now.
I think we said in this group that Liquid will give us a consistent level of performance that is good, and I think maybe Liquid are dropping below that at the minute. Obviously, you know, losing, dropping maps, etc. as at the minute. But we expect Liquid to be good on this map. It is their map pick. They absolutely love this map, and like you said, they've been on a long win streak on it. However, that's it for me as well, Leo, for me, it's about G2. Can they rise to the challenge now? Can they go on a map that isn't necessarily that comfortable on? They lost to a tier 2 team twice on it. As much as one of them maps was a little bit troll-fest, they did lose to them twice on it, and as such, they need to rise to that challenge.
There are so many questions that we have going into this match. I mean, can Liquid come back? Can Ness get 16 kills to make sure that he reaches that 1,000 kills at an SI level? Will G2 rise to the challenge and prove that they can play Chalet and have improved? So many questions, and we'll find the answers on Chalet with Ace and Dez.
My head's hurting from all those questions, Tim. That was a lot.
It was. You know, it's we're touching on some cricket. A little bit of... I didn't expect any cricket in the break, I'll be honest with you, Des. You know, throwing in a few overs there, maybe a little leg before wicket.
What
I didn't expect it.
What question would you ask to expose Leo as not a cricket player?
I'd ask something around that. I'd say, can you explain leg before wicket for me? I think that'd be the one.
I can't.
There you go.
I feel like a failed British person not being able to talk about cricket, but it's just never interested me. It's not like...
Well, there's a rule in cricket to prevent you just putting your legs in front of the wickets.
Yeah.
So that the ball hits them. So if the ball hits your leg, they'll have it. They've got camera technology that does it now. It's really cool. So it'll come through and it'll say what was the path of the ball. And if the path of the ball was going to hit the wickets, but it hit your leg, then it's leg before wicket and you're still out. There you go, you see?
Okay.
I like lots of
learning
sports.
something, I guess.
Operator bands coming through. Let's learn
Again,
something about that.
a reminder, operator bans will be flipped here. This is actually a Liquid ban. Striker was a Liquid ban. Monty was a G2 ban, again against Lagonis.
Yep, and Liquid will take Tubarão out of the mix as well. Just continuing with, you know, it's basically what Jack brought down on the desk before the game started about these Liquid bans, and now they do it a little bit differently to everybody else. You know, they're not going in necessarily just with those meta bans all the time, with the Azami, with the Mirror, for example. You know, they're coming out and they're bringing a Tubarão ban, so that's going to mix things up a little bit.
And all that talk about Chalet and it being a Liquid staple, I was looking over at the numbers, to be fair, and the one thing that I noted, they've only picked to play it once. Otherwise, it's been a decided. They played it in best of ones, for example. So it's kind of left as that mid-ground map where it's like, we'll play it, but we're not going to pick it. It's not something we'll actively go out there and say, yeah, that's our #1 map for us, except in this series, apparently. And for G2, it's actually their most played map over the last 6 months. They've played it 9 times. The next closest map is down there at 5. They also love this map, but similar sort of story. They'll leave it in best of ones until the very end, as you come to expect. Both teams sort of settle on it. So I wouldn't quite call it their favorite map, but it is one they are very, very happy playing, even if their record is 5-4 on it over that 6-month window. I honestly think from when I looked at this ban phase coming into the series, I thought G2 had actually won it just on the bans alone. I think Lair, the go-to map for them, they had so much going for them, as we saw. Did almost let Team Liquid back into it, which is a little bit of worry. And Chalet, I think G2 have just played it that often. They are that comfortable on it. They don't care that they've lost it 4 times. It's a map they want to go and play. And it's something a few teams have said. It doesn't really matter if you get 5 wins and 0 losses on a map. You can be 3-2, but you still back yourself as a team to deliver on that map. It could just be this against different teams or something on the day. There's always an excuse why a team didn't win a map. I'm sure someone could think of many reasons as to why for G2. But either way, I think both teams are happy here. I still back G2, I think, to get this one done and over in 2. So Nesk may have to wait just that little bit longer to break the kill record here at SI. Well, kill record, to break 1,000 kills, sorry, here at SI. Now, to start things up, we've got the Lion and the Dokkaebi on side for Liquid. Love seeing that as a combo. Everyone remembers the horror days where Jackal was also in the mix. Yesterday, we had Dokkaebi, Lion, Jackal, and Deimos all coming along together. The 5th operator was Ace, in case you're wondering. And it's just a torturous composition of operators. These two in themselves are quite impressive. I think Dokkaebi is already absolutely nuts just by herself. Hence why she seems to constantly keep on getting these nerfs that don't actually stop her. But I think paired up with Nesk on the line at the same time, it is going to make things a bit more difficult for G2. They won't have the level of freedom that they may be used to on this map.
Of course, these two did play last time in Montreal, best of one on Chalet. Liquid won it in overtime, 8-6. Just having a look back on that day, it was Alamau and Blaz who went particularly big for G2. Palu and Maya on the side of Liquid really pushing them forward. So we'll see whether maybe that holds true. Blaz has already been going fantastically well today. I'm sure G2 would love to see him continue in that form that he managed to hit on Leia. But for the time being, let's get into the task at hand. A minute and a half gone. Liquid are attacking onto Bar and Gaming. G2 trying to hold what's Reset's doing here. He's just going to walk in, Des. He's going to find Blaz, take him down, and all of a sudden, G2 are going to have to scramble. Lagonis, he's getting the diffuser down. Liquid are everywhere. They're coming out of the walls, Des. Alamo manages to find Maya, but it's too little too late.
G2 have retaken the ground that Liquid took to get in, mind you, so it's not an easy out here for the side of Liquid, but they've got the numbers, right? They've got this 4 versus 3. Uno's on his backside, will get recovered. G2 have got about 20 seconds to recover this, and Liquid, now that they've got this diffuser exposed to the outside, they've got players on the rappel, this is not going to be easy for them. Alamau bringing down Resets, who really should have done better there, but I'm afraid, Tim, it looks like too little too late. 10 seconds to go. Uno is on, should get tagged from the window here. They're still going with it. Will they be able to stop him? Yes, they will. Ness with a 3K, and Tim, that's definitely a good way to get towards that 1,000 kill mark.
Who's counting? We are. 3 goes down for that. Interestingly as well, so obviously we've talked about this quite a lot, but it is a huge achievement, so of course we're going to be keeping right on top of it. But 1,000 kills at SI, there's a world where Nesk could be the first to do it, but Palu could be the fastest to do it.
Yes.
Because he has 1 SI less than Nesk.
That'll be a flex. Oh, congratulations on the record, by the way, but
I did it quick.
quicker, just saying.
So we'd have to, don't get me wrong, there's more maths that need to be done, particularly how many games they were involved in that 2018 invite for Nesk, and then how many extra games it takes Palu to. So we'll have to have a look. I'll be doing it in the downtime. We'll be having a look. But yeah, when I've been reviewing the stats this morning, it became apparent that it was a possibility, yeah, for Nesk to do it first and Palu to do it fastest. So, we will head into round 2 then. G2 going to change the position, not go into Bar and Gaming again. It's one of the beauties of Chalet. It's one of the reasons I really like this map, is that there are 4 viable sites.
Let me get the numbers, Tim.
You can go absolutely anywhere. You hit me with the numbers, Des, but everywhere is playable. We don't have, like Clubhouse, you've got Bar and Stage where you look at it and if somebody goes there, it's a little bit weird. You've got to have a real plan before you go into Bar and Stage. Whereas on Chalet, we see all 4 played. And Dining and Kitchen at the minute, your stats might tell me otherwise, but I would say Dining Kitchen is probably the least played, if I had to make a guess.
I'll tell you yourself, it's right in front of your face. Master Bedroom's actually the least played, believe it or not.
There we go.
Kitchen Dining is the second least played, so great.
Yeah, so, but it's still a very viable site. We're going to have an immediate breach onto that main garage. So Liquid are wanting to get in underneath, make sure they've got nobody lurking down there to come up West Main, to come up main stairs and hit them on the flank. They're likely going to want to get some top floor control, particularly of office. Try and breach that office wall from balcony. You breach from fireplace into dining, and then you should have some free reign to go in and plant behind the B-bomb chassis.
It's actually the most defender-sided site in the map, believe it or not, Kitchen and Dining. Only by 1% or 2. The map itself actually is very well balanced at about 50% globally. I think in Tier 1 play it is more attacker-leaning, but you look across all the regions that we've had over the last 6 months, well, it's pretty bang down the middle. At least as things start, we've got that Sens on side. I love the use of the Sens seen so far, the light wall going up and down, a lot of control it gives the attack to be able to make better use of that gadget and that operator. More a case of DeLuca getting a chance to use it. They've already done quite a few in, and one thing I'll come back to again, Tim, is losing these players early in the round. It's continuing onto this map, the same as we saw back on Lair. That early round discipline, getting caught out by G2. What on earth is going on here? It's a dance back and forth, but they have stepped in and found the kills they need. Tokyo one from behind, Reset's falling down too, and Palu has got to do it all. Can he do it against 3? Not so sure he can. Already taken a lot of damage, shot in the back. And G2 take round 2.
Yeah, G2 are in much better control of things there. Doki particularly just getting slippy. Wasn't ever really pinned down by Liquid. We saw him just coming round through fireplace at the end to take Resets down. Really got onto the flank. It was well played from G2, and it was really the final nail in the coffin for Liquid on that attack. I feel like Liquid weren't really prepared for that attack. You know, I spoke about several things that they needed to be doing, getting control of Office, getting control of Fireplace, opening up those walls. None of that was done by the end. We had Nest wandering in towards Kitchen and getting caught up in an FNAT for, you know, they hadn't dealt with any of the utility. They didn't know what was ahead of them. Yep. And I feel like they were just a little bit off the pace, that attack, Liquid, to be honest.
They were a little bit. I think we saw it back in round 1, though, where a lot of G2 was sort of left floating around the map. And I think the difference is in round 1, they took a bit too long to kind of scramble and reconvene on where Liquid had gathered and where they pushed inside a site for a retake. There, Liquid were a little bit slower. And G2, like we saw from Doki, were able to get in a good spot and put down these fringe players that were actually supporting those who had gone charging in towards site. So a good balance down the middle, both teams being separated by very fine margins. G2 now really doubling down here with the Mute and the Mozzie coming along, one of my favorite pairings of operators in the game. You can imagine why. It's the fact that it blocks away so much of that intel from the other side. If you're not on it and really hyper-aware as a team, it can punish you. And when Liquid have been really slow across the last couple of days of play, I think slowing them down even further, Tim, by denying the value of those drones could actually really work in the favor of G2.
Down onto the basement defense this time then. We can just see Lagonis getting to work with the breaching of the X-Kairos pellets. In goes the Boogie drone towards Fireplace just to get that vertical one. It's really hard to shoot. I'm going to sympathise with Lyra
From below,
there.
it's horrible.
Especially when you're on like the Mark 14, you're on DMR and you're on a one-shot. It's really quite tricky to shoot out those gas canisters on the back of the Boogie drones. So the RAM gadget doing the majority of its work, and this time Liquid just taking a little bit more time, I think. They're looking to get the drones in. They want to get that full map clearance. They want to get proper control. They've got the gridlock on side with Palu as there. He's going to be down to try and lock out those flanks and prevent something like Doki slipping through the net and getting kills onto them. That's going to be the plan this time for Liquid.
We're having to play Hunter for all these players of G2 that are scattered around the map. There's 4 of them essentially just dancing around and causing a bit of bother. You've got Doki and Uno wandering up towards this north side. They've managed to get control of Mez and Library for now, but once you don't worry about these players, you'll see the same as the last couple of rounds where they, again, swamp you in. They close off the access routes that you've taken before. They're shooting you in the back and really putting a lot of pressure and breaking Liquid apart in the back line. So I feel like being conscious of Doki and Uno is absolutely key for Liquid here. And just how slippy he can get, Doki in particular, up on this top floor, is one to watch out for. Yeah,
Doki's he's recognising that they're getting towards that minute mark, and that's when he's probably going to start hassling them a little bit. He's not going to stay out in Office forever, because if he does, kind of the round's wasted. He needs to be there to have an impact. But for the time being, he's just biding his time, waiting until he makes that move. He doesn't want to do it too early, because right now, Liquid have to keep one eye on that. As you can see, Palu's going to put out the tracks thing as Doki's got himself stuck here. He can't really go left, and they've got somebody on the bathroom window now. That's really good from Team Liquid. They knew where he was. If you remember, I said they needed to be more aware of what was going on in the map. They've done that. They've found Doki, they've cut him off, they've killed him, but have they taken too long, Des?
That's what I was going to say. It's taken 2 minutes and 10 seconds to deal with that, but getting rid of Blaz at the same time, that's really critical for them. If they don't get the second kill anytime soon, it really comes to sting them. In comes the drop as well. Maya just dropping an Alamau's skull here. Nesk taking one away as well. Liquid. The answer is, Tim, yes, you can take as long as you like to clear out Doki, because you can still get the job done. Diffuser's going to go down, and Uno left 1 versus 4. This round feels pretty unrecoverable, but Liquid, I think, really showing a lot of discipline here, Tim, in knowing to go after those roamers, stop G2 being able to bite them in the backside again. They've learned from what cost them the previous round. Really good stuff.
Yeah, what a great attack from Team Liquid there. That one for me is, I know they won the first round as well pretty comfortably, but that round I look at and I feel like this is a little bit men against boys on Chalet here. Like Liquid, and that may well change as we go on. G2 may get more up to speed, but I'm looking at this and thinking, we're starting to see exactly why this is Liquid's map pick, because they are running rampant in these couple of rounds that they have won. Maya had a great round there. The play onto Doki, just everything clicked for Team Liquid, and they were electric in round 3. We'll see if they can continue that forward. Round 4, we're going to be moving into it. G2 are just continuing their rotation, Des. They're going to be going back to Bar and Gaming. So again, it's going to be a top floor hold. Last time around, Liquid did a great job of just creating that space, but only as much as they needed to. Just that little bit inside of sight. Resets, wanders in, finds a kill, and then they take the opportunity and get the diffuser down. So they won't get away with that again. G2 aren't going to allow Resets to just walk into sight again. So I'm interested to see what Liquid do this time. Is it going to be a top floor clearance, or do they again just try and go route 1 into sight?
really direct overall, and it's been on G2 to try and collapse the net around them, but now that they've realised that's been figured out, looking here towards the Mira being a bit more dug in, Mute still being here but dropping away from, of course, playing on the Mozzie. Instead, you've got Alamau coming along on the Solis. Remember when Solis was like super dominant? It was all we ever see getting picked up, and it made the game quite stale because attackers couldn't get an awful lot done. But through the nerfs that Solis has now had, not quite as impressive, but still valuable in the right situations, it's worth stressing.
Yeah, I think the changes were really good to Solus for that reason, like you said.
More situational than a must pick.
Just put her in a very good spot. Still, you know, super useful in certain circumstances, but not just an insta-pick or insta-ban. So yeah, really good changes to Solus. But Alamau, like I said, just playing up on that office balcony for the time being, going to try and help protect Mezzanine. We've got a number of G2 up on that top floor. Doki joins him, Loira as well. So there's going to be work to be done. Alamau has actually dropped away now. He's gone under, I was going to say he's gone underneath the fireplace, he's gone back up to top.
He knew a shot drone was coming through at some point, so he was there to try and pick that up on the hope that Parla would then march in and Loira would follow through with the C4. And the play almost worked out. You see Loira's uses C4, you can see Parla's down to about 20 HP. Very, very close. A second earlier, and they probably get rid of player there for free.
Team Liquid are starting their push across the top floor from Solarium, so that answers my question. It's not going to be direct to site. They're going to try and play in behind the blitz of Lagonis to get this clearance going on. They might need a little bit of breaching, but they are potentially going to be lacking it. Myra's got the hard breach, but it depends where the Deimos is. They could, I was going to say, do with it on that wall, and they've done that very well so far throughout the game, where they've needed somebody, they've had them in the right position. So Maya gets that wall open. That's going to force Doki out of office. He was in there earlier with the Valkyrie. That's pushed him back, and now they can start pushing up towards Ivy. They can start taking a little bit of ground, but with 2 minutes in, it's still quite slow. It's going to have to be an explosive finish from Liquid, but Uno, he's just left himself completely exposed there, and Reset says, thanks for the freebie.
I think they expected everyone to be coming down from that solar side, as we remarked, but again, it's another case of Liquid, where they spend 2 minutes sorting out the map and then go fast at the end. Maybe a little bit out of sync here because Lagonis got caught up for a second, gets himself punished, sure finds a kill, but there's been 4 here in the last 5 seconds for G2. You heard Leo speaking about this new G2 team play, and it's really been on show here in this round. A good close in round 4. Really trading blows here between both teams. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's great. Lagonis was a little bit unfortunate there. He's kind of taken an off-the-beaten-track route to getting in towards the plant spot, but he does get there. He finds his kill. Doki coming around the corner there. It was essential that he took that blitz out, because otherwise, if he gets flashed and loses his life, that plant is going down because they've got resets on the window to cover. So, essential kill there from Doki to get it over the line for G2. I like what G2 have done on the defense there. They've not overcommitted. They've held the top floor, but when the pressure came through to office, for example, Doki dropped away. They knew when to give up ground, and they knew where to watch the alternative avenues. When they got to that 2-minute mark and they're thinking, we still haven't been pushed on top mezzanine here, something's not right, they knew exactly where the push was going to come from in that case, and they adjusted for it. So really well played from G2.
You want to stress again, because again, I think it's quite a bit of flack on this. Blaz currently top of the chops, top of the chops.
Top of the chops.
Top of the pops, also got top chops, it turns out. 18 and 70 is master of the chop shop. Looking really good so far in the series. Alamau, we heard him speak about this on the desk before we even got started in this series. He's a real big fragging force. Those people saying on the interview along with Uno, you know, look, it's hard for him when he's a frontline player to also be an IGL. It does distract him away. We want to unleash him. He's absolutely flying here at 17 and 10 himself. 4-0 on the entry. He is dominating this game against Liquid.
We've also not actually mentioned there's an interesting, you know, other layer to this. Of course, we know Ramalia is the coach.
Another layer?
Another layer. There's not another layer, we played that, but...
That's a new one from you, Tim. It's on this map where we find the interesting things that you say.
There's another layer.
You know what you said a lot this week? Fussed.
What?
Fussed.
Fussed?
Rather than first. You say fussed.
I don't say fussed.
You do. You've said it all week and it's really bothered me.
I definitely don't. So, the first thing that we need to... I knew that was coming! I knew you were going to do it! No, let me make my point! Ramalia, obviously a Brazilian coach, he knows these guys well, but you know who knows them probably better? Cameraman. He's played for years and years against these Team Liquid players. He's played alongside them, he's played against them. He will know them inside and out. He's come into G2. He is going to potentially be having an effect. He's going to really help G2 in this sort of matchup as that assistant coach to be able to help them prepare for it. I say the Brazilian players across all the teams, they know each other really well.
They do.
You know, they're always very, very familiar familiar with each other's gameplay. So, yes, Romalia, of course, will be very familiar with that. Having Cameraman come in is going to be nothing other than a positive for a matchup like this.
For sure, for sure. And you guys can see, I ain't going to tell you about this. We've had a bit of a tech pause. Everyone froze up in the server. I think the server died. We'll get it rehosted. We'll get back in game in just a moment, which is kind of a shame because momentum was really starting to build there. We've seen them literally trading back and forth across those rounds. G2 shows something, Liquid shows something in round 1. G2 respond in round 2. Liquid come back with a haymaker. And the next round, G2 are back and they've got a better answer to it. It's just really tight between the two. And this is why I thought we would see a really good map here on Chalet. Given how close it was last time they played, that it did require overtime, it's more of the same. What?
I really did. I didn't realise that I said first.
Have you never noticed it? So now you've thought about it, you acknowledge that you do say it. You do say, I don't know why, because you haven't said it at previous events.
Never noticed it. No, that's how I've always said it. I think you've probably just not picked up on it.
No, definitely not.
That is just definitely my accent.
I don't know why. I thought, you know what? I won't pick
I'll tell you what it might be. So there are certain things. I'm very aware that I've got. It might come as a surprise to everybody watching, quite a strong northern accent.
Oh, really?
I know. It's a shock, I know. But it's not as strong as it would normally be. I will tell you that. For the grace of everybody's ears, I do try to soften it. It's something that I've always acknowledged, kind of.
Try being the key word, I think.
It's impossible for me to do it completely. But maybe it's potentially that I have said first, generally. And it's just kind of slipped through because another one that I say, I wouldn't normally say it again, but I always on broadcast say it again. But if I were to say that normally, you'd have been like, again, all over me for that one.
Again or again?
Again, I'd normally say it. But
it sounds weird hearing you speak like a normal, educated person from the UK. It is so strange.
Normally, when I'm working,
I've definitely heard you say.
I think first is probably one of the ones that I normally change, but...
No, I've definitely heard you say it before, but I'll tell you what, we'll talk more about it in a second. Here's a quick break while we get this one sorted out.
Well, like I said, it's just...
No, the thing is, I've definitely heard you say, he gets the first kill before. I've heard you, like, when you're really in flow of a play-by-play moment, you've definitely said first. Yeah. It's this week where I've noticed you saying bust all the time. Okay. Just say first.
First.
Yeah. Like first place.
Right? First place.
You say it fine.
I can play first.
You're going back to it again. That's not how this works.
Like I said, when I'm in work mode, I say a few things differently. And
layers,
obviously one that's just slipping through the net.
The one that always really got us historically, and it was actually on this exact map, was Lasergates, the first time you had a Rooney on, because you really lent into it when you said it. And you're just like, she's got these gadgets called Lasergates. And I was just in bits for the next 60 seconds.
Because I elongate my A's.
You do? Elongate them, mate.
I put about 3 extras in.
Well, that's long enough that the tournament will finish by the time you get a sentence out of the way.
Generous, what can I say?
Generous. Come on, man.
I think we are going to be getting back into the lobby now, so there we go.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Round 5, we're going to be going to dining and kitchen for G2's next defense. A very even affair so far between these two. If you're only just joining us...
You're inserting syllables now, affair, and you go affair.
Leave me alone. So, if you're just joining us, G2 won the first map, 7-5 on Leia, and... Stop it, man! And they are... so far embroiled in a real brawl between these two here on Chalet 2-2. And the thing is, all the rounds that have been won, I feel like they've been really won. Do you know what I mean? It's like nobody's lost a round yet. Liquid have had some great attacks. G2 have had some great defenses, and they're both absolutely wailing on each other at the minute. So we're really being treated in this one, especially inside of Chalet. I'm kind of I'm not, you know, at the end of the day, whoever wins, wins. I don't really mind, but I'm kind of hoping for a third map here. I'd love to see some more of this already.
Given how tight this has been and how Lair was that almost comeback despite G2 dominating it in the first, half, two-thirds of that map, I do want it to go 3 as well. I'd love to see Constant to settle things out, but let's see if we even get there first. Now for that little break, we'll see how the teams have adapted, what they've got in their mind. Uno has gunned Palu there. Despite there being a yellow ping on his feet, he still wins out that 1 versus 1.
It's big for G2 because the entry up to that point was 3-1 in favour of Liquid. They'd been getting in there and getting those early kills, so G2 just bringing one back at least. And again, no trade for Liquid. Something that I mentioned on Lair, something I will continue to mention, something to watch with this team. Not always the best at making sure that they impact on each other's deaths, and it can be problematic. The Bravo drone, though, is going to go in and start stealing a couple of things.
For those keeping count, by the way, Nest is on 12 kills now, so he's halfway to where he needs to be.
Needs 24.
It probably will require the third map, I think, for him to get there, unless we see a lights-out performance getting him towards 16 kills on this map alone. Still, as you say, a little bit of utility rolling on through, and once again, Liquid has still lost that early player. It's been quite a recurrent theme through these last two maps where they're taking these early engagements or just stepping a foot wrong and being caught out by G2. Lagonis now really starting to ask the question, knocking on the door. That is so cheeky! Loira, you naughty boy, straight on the doorway, knocks the shield out the way and brings down his man. G2 have once again absolutely clapped Liquid here in round 5, a flawless round, and they're up 3-2. I love that from Loira.
I was just going to say, that was brilliant from Loira. Just the timing of it. He knows that it's a shield hitting the barricade, so I'm just going to come and smack that shield as the barricade opens. Absolutely brilliant stuff. How do you deal with a blitz? That's how you deal with a blitz. Wonderful stuff. G2, I don't want to over-egg the pudding, Des, but G2...
I've never heard that expression in my life.
Have you not? Oh, that's a common one.
I've heard over-egg it. I've never heard over-egg the pudding.
I think that's where it comes from, over-egg the pudding.
Fair enough. I mean, it makes sense, like a cake or something.
Absolutely, you don't want to put too many eggs in.
All right, granted.
I don't want to over-egg the pudding, Des, but between G2 on day one and G2 today, genuinely, they are looking really good.
They look great on day one for sure, and yeah, we said it back then. It's not a disrespectful thing towards M80, but M80 weren't at the races on that day. G2 just, they made it like they were something like a scrim or in practice mode. It wasn't a real test of their abilities, and we were saying coming into today, this is a really good chance for G2 to experience a little bit of a test. And yeah, Liquid are certainly putting up some real great rounds here, but G2 when required, they're turning it on. And I mentioned earlier on that stat about them being one of the best teams around the world for trading back teammate deaths. They play as a team is the key part, as well as being excellent individuals like we saw from Uno. Again, loads of criticism on him last year, not quite the level of player that they need as an IGL, clearly fantastic, and it feels since he's taken on that role, he's got even better, Tim. Like, he's playing really well today. I love seeing it.
You know, let's not forget, you know, when I say that G2 are looking really good, and I don't sound surprised at all, but it's like they've been LCQ merchants through the year. That's how they've had to qualify to every tournament. They've not done well in Manchester or in Montreal. They've gone out at the first possible opportunity for them at both tournaments. They've not done fantastically well. The consistency has been up and down. They've made these changes and they are working. They've come in here, and like I say, over the first 2 days so far, this game may go either way, and I wouldn't criticise them now if it did, because I think that they've played really, really well so far. Liquid, like you said, are up there, and they're going to continue challenging. I'm hoping that we get much more of this matchup, but I just thought, you know, I need to say that G2 look really good.
Is it their year? I mean, I joked earlier on and said back in Manchester they went out in phase 3. In Montreal it was phase 2. All the way around. It's phase 3, phase 2, phase 1. This is phase 1. All the way around. Went out in phase 1 back in Manchester. Phase 2 in Montreal. Will they make it to phase 3 here and at least get to quarters? Well, if there's a pattern building, then that's certainly a way to go about it. How far they get there is another question in itself. But now they're going to start their way forwards. We've got half that round down, and thank God, Tim, they haven't lost a player super early on. It has been a big sticking point for me throughout this series that they've let players get a little bit over-aggressive. Admittedly, in the previous round, I think for Uno, he should have been dead to rights. There was a yellow ping at his feet. Palu still lost the 1 versus 1. Similar sort of story again. It's Blaz now dancing around West Main, looking to cause a spot of bother. Liquid has still got a lot of clearing to do. We just saw Doki, for example, holding up on that top floor around Piano. You've got Blaz around Soli. You've got Loira downstairs. There's still players here they've got to be conscious of on the G2 side.
Yeah, it's pretty much all coming from the Fireplace and Library side. The one exception is Palu, who's moving out towards bathroom window as we speak. He's probably going to be working on that balcony at some point, or maybe a little West Main push. We'll see as the round goes on. But for the time being, it is all about that side. Resets is just actually moving over and maybe going to join Palu on this side so they can create a little bit of extra pressure. But again, Des, the question is that rotation too late here? There's only 35 seconds left to go. Resets, though, proves me wrong. A big double. Maya finds 2, make it 3, and within a matter of heartbeats, Liquid have got themselves completely surrounding G2. They've made that rotation to join Palu. Resets heads over. They push in at the same time then from two sides, and it goes fantastically well. Good attack from Liquid. Yet another round won rather than lost by anybody.
They got so sucked into resets, who did so well getting that 2K to start, but the real difference maker was Maya playing on that office door, and you'll see it on the replay here in a moment, I imagine. The response that he has, we look, again, resets being a nuisance, they were drawn towards the breach, it's here, gets the first kill, doesn't back out immediately, swings round for the second and third kill. Nothing really that G2 can do about it. It's just got himself in a perfect place at the perfect time and completely cleared them out while they're so distracted what's going on the breach. Great stuff. And as we know, Maya's got some big performances in him. That round is certainly a way to get the gears turning and start seeing what else he can deliver throughout Chalet.
Got a big voice in him as well.
Well, we know that. The thing is, he's quite a assuming guy, the one.
He is. That's what I mean. Generally, he's like you say, quite quiet, and then as soon as he gets a 3K, him and Hugs are going absolutely crazy there, loving it. Love the passion. The thing is, like we've said, you know, these are two of the most storied teams inside of Siege. This matchup has been played so many times. It's a real El Clasico of Siege in terms of organisations, particularly G2 versus Liquid. Every game matters to these players, of course, but when they come into these are the big matchups. These are the ones that you dream of. Liquid at SI, G2 at SI, and they get to face off against each other, so it means an awful lot to these players. And you can really see it in the server at the minute, not just in terms of the play, but in terms of the passion coming out of the players. But let's get into round 7. We move on to our second half. 3-3 at the split. It could not be any closer than it is right now. We're going to see a defense of Barring Gaming coming out from Liquid. They are trying to hold on to that mezzanine area. Nesk is there at the top of the fireplace stairs. He's going to start being pressured by nades. Uno sending it in, not quite deep enough, and they haven't got him moved just yet.
No, for sure. I mean, the new Nest has been up here for a while. This is one way to try and force the issue. Is a shield coming on through, but the cover is there, and the thing is, G2 know about these positions, and they're somewhat paid the price. Blaz has collected a couple, so it has evened things out at 3 apiece, but I thought Liquid there were in a really good spot to completely shut down that G2 aggression. I wouldn't quite call it luck, but Blaz has definitely handed this one to G2 to say, right, all things are equal, we go again.
Yeah, they've definitely got the chance now to be able to build something. There's a lot of time left as well. 1 minute 45 left on the clock. They can start working from above. They don't have a lot of vertical destruction in their hands at the minute. That might be a slight bit of a problem. They can use, as they are doing, the ammunition to try and just, you know, burst open a couple of little holes that are going to get them something, but maybe not much as they would like. They're going to have to move down and work in behind that other utility to try and get themselves into a plant spot.
Well, the Gonus is falling down here, and you can hear the Grimbees coming up. We've got smokes, EE1Ds, we've got fire. Really dumbing all the utility in, and I'm pretty sure Liquid anticipated that there would be a plan coming in. But that's the last smoke that's come off it as well, and I think Uno has missed his man. Palu's managed to get his way back inside, and do they know about this? He could be a real party spoiler if they aren't anticipating it.
Yeah, exactly. The asphyxiation bolts went in there to prevent the play from resets coming out of that area, but I'm not sure how aware they are of the remaining locations. But there's 45 seconds left. They've got plenty of time. They don't need to rush this. However, resets gets aggressive. That's a big kill. 2v2. Diffuser is still in the hands of Uno, but can they find space? Probably not, as resets and Palu go huge. And look what it means to Team Liquid. They find themselves in the lead again, 4-3.
Resets continues to impress, Tim. We spoke about him a lot. Looks absolutely fantastic there. I think we've got another rehost coming in, unfortunately, but Resets again, just massive in the moment required. Palu as well, can't ignore it and say that Resets did it all by himself, but really solid. And they start off the half with a round win. Good stuff.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Again, it was, you know, that 3v3, they'd lost top floor, and Liquid, just the movement there, like you say, was great. Just moving around that utility, preventing G2 from executing maybe when they wanted to. Didn't give up those kills that would have opened things up for G2. And then just got themselves, it was just that resets play onto the double window. Once you've got that closed down, it creates so much more freedom for Liquid to be able to move around. It was beautiful stuff and really well played.
All right, well, where did G2 go from here? That's where the attention will turn. I mentioned that when they had this burst coming in on that top floor, I was a bit concerned that they hadn't dealt with all the necessary angles. And that was a little bit unlike G2. I thought there'd be some utility dumped at the top of Library Stairs, for example, to stop the shield player. But this kill that came from Nesky was Nesky found out Alamal there really concerned me. When Maya got the second, I thought, this is screwed, it's over. But I think Vlad's getting into a great spot then to be able to get a 2K back. Did even things up. They just couldn't hold on against Resets, who was a little bit of a beast. And this, again, is what I spoke about back on day one, was what I loved about W7M was the willingness to take these risky plays and go for a swing when you wouldn't normally anticipate it. Most teams I'd expect would sit there, wait for a Volt to come in through that double window because there's frost mats on the floor, and then you just hold the angle and wait. But instead, he does the unexpected, goes up nice and close. G2 weren't ready for it, gets one kill and converts into a second. Really good play, even if it was a little bit risky in the moment.
One thing I will say about Team Liquid as well, historically, you know, from all the many, many times that I've seen them and had the pleasure of covering their games at events now, I will say they always play better when the vibes are up.
Yeah.
And that's true of a lot of teams. You know, it's not revelational information, I understand that. It's true of a lot of teams. But there's a lot of teams that, you know, can still play when things are a little bit down and they can dig deep. And I don't think that's always something that Liquid have had in their locker. We see those days sometimes where things are a little bit flat, and that tends to be when they have that real struggle of a performance and they don't always manage to turn it around. When they are looking like this, and you've got Ness screaming and gassing Resets open, like, you know, really hyping everybody, and Maya's there, Hugzord's getting involved, and there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of laughs, there's a lot of smiling, there's a lot of fun going on in the team. And that, for me, whenever I've seen Liquid at tournaments, is a real dangerous prospect for whoever is against them. G2 are bringing their best, and are going to have to continue bringing their best if they want anything out of this matchup, because Liquid is certainly testing them.
Yeah. So if these to be addressed. Apologies, a bit of fuse during this series as well. I know we've had a few re-hosts have had to work our way through. It does break that momentum a little bit as well, but again, for Liquid, I imagine they're feeling pretty cozy about the fact that they are now in the lead on their map pick in this second half. It definitely sets the tone for how the half may play out. G2 are the ones who've got to figure things out. It's a little coffee break in the middle, Tim. I haven't got any coffee. I've only got water, actually. Oh, and an unnamed dark fizzy pop.
Yeah, generally, a little behind the scenes, but I generally try to limit myself to water throughout the time, particularly while we're actively working.
Yeah.
But a little bit broader than that as well, generally through working days. I'll have the odd fizzy drink maybe, or I had a milkshake last night.
Oh, load me up, Tim, is what I say.
But I've tried to avoid it too much because I find it can affect my throat a little bit sometimes. Air conditioning and things that aren't...
Did you try the trick I told you about to get your room a bit fresher yesterday?
No, I forgot, but I will.
So, because we're in this building, we're in the hotel that we're in, it's all very recycled air. I don't want to do a quick break production. Can we carry on? We'll happily keep on chatting. They're nearly all back in. But I hope, like that's good yesterday, it's all a lot of stale air throughout the building. So opening up that, because we're quite high up as well, I think I'm on like the 12th floor or something. If you open the window, the draft that then runs through your room, it feels like you're in the middle of a storm. But my room felt absolutely great afterwards. Yeah, I was like, I didn't want to be in the room, but I was also really conscious that someone might knock and just say, is everything okay in there? Because I've never felt a draft like it coming under the door. I don't know if someone else had done the same thing in one of their rooms, but it was some gale force wind, Tim, I'm telling you.
I'll give it a whirl. Obviously.
Give it a spin and tell me your experience.
I will do. I'll give it a spin. Maybe it'll give me a spin if the draft is strong enough. It might spin me off my feet in my room. But no, yeah, I think those are the two things that I find tend to affect. I try to avoid affecting my throat. Is I tend to just stick to water, and I try not to have the air conditioning on in my room too much.
It's a reminder for those at home to hydrate. Take a drink of water, it's good for you.
Drink of water is very good for you.
Get some fresh air at some point today, maybe between the games, during the break. Step outside for a few and touch some grass.
I try to do that as well, because as I said the other day, it's very, very easy for us to just kind of end up inside when the tournament kicks off, because it's just game after game after game and we want to watch them all.
It doesn't help that it's like -6 outside when we finish casting.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, we are...
you were like either freezing or getting blown away.
Coming from Northern England, we kind of built for it. So, I mean, you're not, but...
You were moaning about it yesterday on the water to get a shake.
I know, it was cold, but...
I wasn't moaning.
Still built for it, it's fine.
Well, you weren't, though, because you were moaning about it.
That's what we do in the North, Des.
We do in the UK, mate. We love a good moan.
We moan about it and we get on with it. It's fine.
That's very true.
But yeah, quite often I'll get up early and go for a little. I like an early morning walk around the city. You know, you kind of get that vibe of like people going to work, maybe stopping in at a bakery, something to eat, and I like that vibe around the city. So I'll maybe try and get out early in the morning, like because I'm usually awake anyway. So at 7:30, 8 o'clock, get out for a little walk for an hour and just get some fresh air before the day kicks off. I think it's always good. And it's very beautiful, I've already said, but it's very beautiful walking around Boston. It is a very architecturally pretty city. It's very, very nice.
I do agree. I believe all our players are back in lobby, so not far off being ready now. Again, thank you for the patience. Yes, we waffle on. That's not about the game sometimes, but we could talk. Yay.
Thank you, Hooks.
I love that Hooks on. He's my kind of guy. In fact, I saw a picture of Parker on our socials yesterday. He was doing that.
Was it?
And I was like, it's spreading.
You realise that nobody at home has any idea what you're talking about?
Absolutely not. They're doing the
Des hands, as we call it.
The surfer hands. That's what
I, in my head, call it Des hands.
Des hands.
Yeah.
I know Stokes does it
Because
quite
you
a lot.
always do it.
And now Parker's doing it. I always do it. There's always a picture of me somewhere doing it at an event because it just feels like a thing I have to do. So it will spread.
We found a bar once. Do you remember? We found a bar. I can't remember what city it was in, but there was a bar that had that hand as like their logo.
Oh yeah,
and they had a big sign up, so we got a picture with you underneath it doing the same sign.
I can't
remember where it was. I cannot remember for the life of me. It was one of the cities that we've been to.
It'll be in the archive somewhere.
It'll be somewhere. I'm a little bit of my brain is scratching to say. No, it won't have been Yevla because we didn't go out very much in Yevla.
Nope.
No, I can't remember, but yeah, we definitely saw it somewhere. It was a bar that had that.
Well, while you scratch your head on where that was, Tim, we'll get the game back underway again. All players are in, the game has begun, and we are ready to resume with round 8. Thank you very much for your patience. If you are just joining us or haven't caught the first half of the series, G2 very narrowly won at Lair 7-5. It looked like it'd be a much more dominant victory than that, but Liquid did battle their way back in. And now we're on Chalet. We had a perfect 3-3 split, and Liquid have just won the first defensive round. Now we get to see how the second one shapes out with Master and Office. You love that little bit of like,
I keep doing it.
You do. You walk around and just go,
I love it for the transition. It's great. Right, up to the top floor we go then. It's going to be another defence for Liquid. They will, of course, see out. They'll see the rest. You've distracted me now. They're going to see the rest of the game out on the defensive side, of course, and they're looking pretty comfortable. It was a really good round from them in the last one. Able to hold on. It could have been tough, but 2v3, Resets and Palu managed to get it done. So up to, as we found out earlier, the least played defensive side here on Charlie. They're all fairly even, but Master is, at the moment, the least played. And we'll see whether Liquid can hold on to it. Just having a quick look across their setup. They've got the mirror set up. They're mostly in and around site. I'm just sort of scanning my top-down screen because I can't find Nesk at the minute. Where is he? Nesk is...
He's at the bottom of the screen.
He's at the bottom of the screen. Just near Fireplace. So they're kind of looking at the entirety of top floor at the minute. So G2 are going to have to do a little bit of work because Lagonis and Nesk are over on the library side. They're going to need to clear them out if they want to get in and get some control from there. Now, this could be an absolutely disgusting C4 coming out of Reset. Nobody at the minute is lining up for the solar repel. But if they do, if they do, Resets could have really punished them. But it doesn't look like the stars are going to align for it.
Myers gagging to find something on this office door. He's still stood there on this frost and has been now for like, what, 45 seconds or so? Barely moved, just hoping to catch someone, but no one's giving him anything to bite on. Nesk also holding onto this window, so already quite a lot of early aggression from Liquid in terms of holding onto like the solar windows, as we said, on towards the office balcony. Palu has been punished, though, by Loira. Not a dream start. And I need to go and look at these numbers, to be fair, because it feels like Palu has gone down as the entry a lot this map.
And with no response coming out of Liquid. Too many deaths they take where they don't get a response for it and they just have to play on at a man disadvantage. 5 versus 4 as G2 start to send in a little bit of utility, start to jump kind of in and out of the map. Just trying to apply a little bit of pressure here. Bullets raining in from the rooftop towards Piano and Liquid just getting less and less comfortable. Nesk, I'm not sure if they are aware of his position in library box or not. Drone goes past. They will be now. Two drones see him. So they are aware, and Nesk is stuck. Blast takes him out. Beautiful stuff from G2. They reacted so quickly to that information. Love to see it.
Doki and Blaz were there, and there was one coming from Fireplace stairs. They were just ready, basically, the whole way through. It's beautiful to see when they work as a team like this, and even discovering someone they didn't know was going to be there. Just having the ability to have two players ready to respond at a given moment's notice is really good stuff to see. We are down to that last 50 seconds or so, Tim. They've got rid of 2. It's a good spot for G2 to be in, but like Liquid back in that first half, now you've got to start getting yourself ready for an execute, and they've not done too much prep on the site itself.
No, the problem for G2 at the minute is it's all kind of one-dimensional, but it doesn't matter when they're just going to go in and find kill after kill from that dimension. Liquid maybe could have held out a little bit better there. They had themselves a line defensively inside of the site, across Office, Piano. They were kind of locked in, and then they started peeking out towards Ivy, and that's the only place that G2 were coming from, was the breach and Ivy. And they start giving them those opportunities. They just maybe needed to play that a little bit deeper, but they were in a tough spot. G2 were applying pressure. That's a good attack from G2 to get the round up.
It was really, really solid. I think more than anything else, it was the ability to isolate gunfights though, right, and not get themselves caught up in these big trade battles with Liquid. That's where they lost a couple of players at the start of the prior round. That one, much more finding isolated gunfights and punishing Liquid, who, as we remarked early on in the round, were looking to challenge on to Office Doorway, on towards Solar. They were really trying to be aggressive early on and hopefully catch G2 out. But G2 were just nice and slow and composed, getting on those drones and really giving Liquid no time or space to be able to capitalize on any aggression. Things are once again all square, Tim. Are we heading towards another overtime chalet between these teams? Because it sure feels like it.
Oh, surely we couldn't be treated to overtime already in map 2. I mean, for me, as a neutral, I'm thinking, let's have some overtime. Let's go to map 3. Let's just have the whole lot. Let's have as much entertainment out of this one as we can. I'd love to tick off Fresher's bingo card for him with a little ace and there's map 3 overtime, because it's been, aside from anything else, it's very, very entertaining, but it's just been good siege as well. It's just been very enjoyable to watch. They've been problem solving well. We've had some great kills, big moments, you know, walking into sight or just great team play. It's been fantastic so far. Look at this aggression from Alamo, going straight for that top floor clearance, looking to get straight on in towards Piano, towards Office, really prevent Liquid from holding on to too much of this top floor. He's waiting for Uno to get up there and join him. Uno will open the Office wall most likely, I would expect, and then they can continue pushing across. And there we go. Uno's going to do exactly that, and it means that Maya is going to have to relocate, but at the minute he's just got himself right up against that wall. Needs to be careful, because if he detonates that thermite charge, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. He's nearly accidentally in a bit of trouble there as Blaz just looks underneath with the IQ to take out the mute jammer. Maya has now been forced away from the wall, but does keep himself inside of Office. So Liquid, as I say that, he kind of dips back to the rotate, but Liquid are holding this top floor still quite aggressively.
They've sent a couple of drones in at Maya, so they're very aware that he's sat in Office. They probably need to get rid of him before they can even think about looking at the site in any more depth. For sure. And having Uno drop away, main goal there is to then get the actual site wall itself opened up. It's easy. Put one on top floor, drop over the balcony, open up the second one at the same time. See his man, and he's also down on the deck. Will they get a second, though? Because there's another player here looking to swing in for a little bit of a trade out. If they'll find the man for free, in which case Alamau dies for free, but no, they've not bothered at this point. There is a lot of challenge coming on through, though. They really want Maya finished off, but he will get picked up.
Yeah, that's well played from Liquid. It would have been easy for Ness to over-aggress there and try to go for the kills, and he likely loses his life. How about this, though? Alamau, he's just walking in, doesn't care. Don't think he knows about the one to the left. No, he doesn't. And there's a shotgun to the face. Maya takes him down. Doki, however, with a double. Uno finds Maya, and G2 back in the driving seat on this attack. They can smell blood in the water. They know that this one is potentially theirs for the taking. They've got the time to take a pause here, Des. They can just think about it. They can reset. They can go back to that plan of getting the diffuser down.
They've got all these drones available to them as well. They are certainly in no rush is the key thing. And this is the real test of a team now. When you've got this man advantage, you've got a bit of time to play with. How do you react? We've seen a lot of teams slow things down, get back on the drones, push forward as a team and get things closed out. But when you've got Blaz on side, who's having a wonderful day so far, just send him in and go and kill. It's a classic G2 strat. Blaz, go kill, and it seems to be working every time. Lagonis has had a good couple of clutches back on Lair. On Chalet, I don't think he's had quite the same joy. It'd be a great time to start that trend now.
Yeah, I kind of feel for Lagonis here. I'm not really sure what the plan is from the bottom of West Main. Maybe he finds one, but they know exactly where he's coming from. Blaz cuts him down. It was always going to be a big ask in a 1v3 to go up the stairs and manage to get a couple as well. So tough from them. G2 once again in the lead, and now just 2 rounds away from beating Liquid inside of 2 maps.
In case you're wondering what Doki said, he said, hello, ha ha ha, hello, Solar Stairs. That's where he got his 2K from. I believe it was Palu who was actually sat on those stairs looking to hold the angle, stop any window push coming through and support the backline of the team. And Doki's just basically tore them apart at that point. I won't repeat what he's actually said in the chat this time around. We have got a tap timeout coming in, though, for Team Liquid. No surprise, as they really are on the back foot here and can see that game slipping away.
Yeah, definitely needing something, I think, to try and turn this one over because, like you say, they're on a little bit of a slippery slope now towards losing this one completely to G2. And they've had a good defense, but then, you know, G2 have had the answer. They've had a couple of attacks. We expect Chalet to potentially favour the attackers from time to time. So right now, Liquid definitely on the back foot. And I don't really know what to suggest because it's just really about G2 playing well together as a team, still getting those trades, but also they're just doing so well at kind of massaging the positions of where Liquid can play, forcing them out of position and into the line of fire of teammates. That it's very difficult for Liquid right now. You know, maybe getting aggressive might help, maybe just getting right up in their faces, I don't know, but they've kind of tried that with Nesk in the last round and he got caught out in library box, he just got cut down. So no matter what Nesk and the rest of Liquid are trying at the minute, G2 have just kind of got the answers.
They look very composed to put together.
Yeah, they do.
It's an exciting time if you're a G2 fan or an EU fan seeing them play this. While it feels like a long time since we've seen a highly functional G2. There's always been something that's been missing.
Yeah.
Now it feels like the formula might really be coming together. And given the wagon sort of came off BDS yesterday, it somewhat got righted today. It could end up being the hope for EU if they keep on playing as well as they have done so far.
Maybe we could do it as we could do it for the transition between you and I as well.
We could, that's true.
There you go.
Oh, you broke it.
Damn it!
It would be awful, let's not. All right, G2 in the lead. Liquid have had that tack timeout. They've got a chance to try and figure out their way back into this game. They've lost 2 of those 3 rounds in that first quarter. Like you see, 3 of those sites now replayed out, and things will need to be course corrected. Doki is on this Blackbeard. Looking towards Laura on that round once again, though. Of course, that vertical destruction being used to open up a lot of that basement. That means getting control of lobby, which likely starts with making sure all the top floor is clear. Given Maya is lurking up towards this top end of the map, they need to get him removed away.
That's just going to be playing it inside of Office for the time being, looking to get aggressive potentially onto Piano Window. We've got Doki inside of the map elsewhere on the Blackbeard, just looking to get aggressive, but a lot of work being done here by Alamo. Gets the mirror window and then swings onto Palu. Doki elsewhere on the Blackbeard, as I commented, gets himself into the map, picks up Lagonis. It's 5 versus 3, and G2, they are starting to punish Liquid. They are running away with it. Loira gets one for free onto the flash resets, and Nesk, he starts battling, doing anything he can, but he can do no more than one, and it is G2 on the trade, playing as a team once again to close it out, and they go not only to map, but to series point.
Liquid have folded like a deck chair in the wind, unfortunately. It's not looking good for them. Things are going very wrong, and yes, G2 are back in all chat again, talking some smack, suggesting that Lagonis gets into map training. Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But as we said at the very start, we're pretty sure, for the most part, Liquid would have muted all of G2. They don't want to deal with that Martin game when it starts breaking out.
Not a chance they'll be looking at that. Absolutely not a chance. 6-4 then to G2. We just see the replay. This is beautiful. I mean, he's got a little bit lucky there, really, and he's punished Palu. Palu's got to be getting that kill. I know that sounds harsh. It's easy to kind of say, you know, but he does. He has to win that. He's stood fully in double door at the bottom of sort of fireplace, and you can't just stand there if you're not going to win the challenge when somebody runs in to get the mirror window. He needs to be punishing Alamo at that point, and it's going to be little mistakes, little incidents like that that ultimately cost Liquid this matchup. And right now, they've got to dig deep. They've got to find 2 consecutive defences. They are now going to Bar and Gaming. They won it back in round 7, so at least it is the site that Team Liquid have won.
I feel that was pretty chaotic execute from G2 last time on this site, if you recall. It's when they went charging in. Blaz sort of recovered it and made it a 3 versus 3, but they got blindsided by the player at top library. Didn't expect they'd get shot by him, and they lost, but I think it was Alamo and Doki incredibly early on. I think G2 will course correct here. They won't try and play as aggressive this time round or this fast-paced. They'll take their time with this one, wear Liquid down, because that has been working so well for them across this half. Why not keep on doing what's working rather than risking it on something like a more aggressive, fast-paced rush?
just going to be holding the position that he's been playing throughout top mezzanine. He's not going to hold it for very long as Uno manages to find the headshot onto him, and it's another entry going in the direction of G2. That's the last couple of rounds. They've been able to get that opening kill, and I tell you what, it's not going to get any easier. 5 versus 4. If Doki starts finding these tracks and just, again, making life difficult from above with this Deimos, Liquid could be in big trouble.
It gets harder as well. The more you see the numbers like disappearing, the stronger that Deimos becomes. There's not really too many other threats to worry about. The supposed weakness of Deimos is he can only track one, and other players can then use that player as bait. When there's only one left on side, well, it's a free track onto the only guy that can do anything about it, and it is not a fun time. G2 getting to work on the vertical as well. Got plenty of time to work with here, and all the utility in the world to make it happen.
Yeah, Liquid have pretty much set up their stall for this. Whether it's win or lose, it is going to be by turtling inside of sight. Echo Drone does give them a little bit of intel. G2 obviously not aware of that, so that's at least a point for the positive in the terms of Team Liquid. 1 minute 10 left to go. G2 have just slowed down a little bit here. Not unexpectedly, they're getting the drones out, they're looking for the intel, they're just trying to get a clear picture of what's going on ahead of them. They need to make sure that they don't waste too much of that time, though. They don't want to give away this round by stalling out and not knowing when to push.
Surely they know about this, though. They've got rid of the one, tried to get the second, but so far, Liquid hold out well. But here comes Alamau, one for himself, Uno another. Paolo bringing it back to a 2 versus 2. We've got single smoke left in the back pocket of resets, but G2 Tim have got all the time in the world to work with.
Last manages to find one, however, resets once again fighting back, but it's that man Blast. What a day he has had today, Des. Absolutely reigning supreme for G2, who beat Team Liquid 2-0 here at the Six Invitational.
I'm really looking at G2 and saying, can you expect anything less than a group-topping performance from them moving forwards? They've looked dominant in the first 2 shows. Liquid, sure, a 7-5 and a 7-4, the score looks close. But I'd argue in terms of team play and the real depth of the game behind it, G2 to me look far superior.
Yeah, they really did. Like we've commented a number of times, the trade game particularly, they always had an answer when they lost somebody. They were on top in terms of man count quite often, and it ground Liquid down throughout the course of that matchup. Liquid, don't get me wrong, they played their part and they played it well. So for me, that is a really good test of G2. And now I'm looking towards them as being one of the top EU sides in the tournament and looking really strong going forward.
Really excited to see what more comes from them indeed. A big shout out to Blaz with a massive performance today.
Huge.
27, 28, 29 kills I think he ended on. Absolutely ludicrous. And Alamau, I think a 92% cost come the end of things. Not a single player on Liquid going positive. It was a bad day for them. But we'll go to a break, and when we come back, there's an interview waiting for you. See you in a few.